Okay, welcome everybody to the town board. Let's see, what is this, a work session? Action work session. Which we have our budget meetings. And are we doing a budget presentation first? We'll go right into Sabrina.
You know, I was just gonna give a little overview and then we'll
Okay.
go right into some.
So Rob, you doing the overview?
No, me.
You're doing the overview, got it.
Me.
As long as I'm not doing it.
One day already.
How are you?
Those kids need to go back to school.
Hi.
So Sabrina's gonna be starting this evening. One of there is the unabridged version. And then there's the abridged version. The budget message that I prepared for you tonight has traditionally started off with a declaration that we have, of course, observed the 2% cap, and once again, we're coming in under the cap. And it dawned on me as I was preparing the budget message that no one serving on the board currently remembers a time when we didn't have the 2% cap. As a matter of fact, almost, I can think of one person who's still a department head who remembers a time when we didn't have a 2% cap. Almost all of my staff has basically grown up with it. And as far as we're concerned, that is the law, those are the parameters within which we budget. We've done it successfully for the past 9 years. And I have a feeling that next year it won't even be anything more than a footnote in our budget message, simply because. Getting to the meat of the matter, the current budget proposes a 1.78% increase in the tax rate, which translates into just under $30.
Tax levy.
Tax levy. Which translates to a just under $30 increase in the average for the average homeowner. By comparison, last year, the budget was at a 2.55% increase, or $70 for the average homeowner. There are a couple of key increases that homeowners will see. One has to do with the enhanced ambulance district, which is a direct result of increased insurance and personnel costs for the district. And also our downtown parking district will see an increase as we expand our role in the district from just clearing parking lots to actually removing snow from the sidewalks within the hamlet, which was part of our promise to the merchants as part of their tremendous patience during our downtown infrastructure project. We're also going to be significantly increasing our paving budget. This year, we will be breaking the $1 million mark for our expenditures for paving. We've increased the paving budget by $200,000 and rounding it out basically with some purchase of parks equipment at $145,000. We did receive a tremendous windfall from the county, a permanent sales tax increase going forward. We are conservatively budgeting that as a $750,000 of additional revenue from the county, which represents Newcastle's share in the county's tax request. With those funds, we're proposing to restore some critical staffing to the 2 office positions, hiring additional labor to help us with the downtown, keeping it clean. And we're also seeking to hire another police officer. Let's see. All told, our budget contains an increase in appropriations of $858,569, but with the offsetting revenue, the increase in the levy is going to be $380,291. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. The full budget message will be posted along with the budget.
Yeah, we'll post that tomorrow after we're done with the
Okay, the
meetings.
tentative budget, and of course, this is the staff's budget. The town board will have their opportunity to make changes that will turn into the preliminary budget, which we will then set the public hearing on, going towards the adopted budget in December.
And this is on the website, right, Rob?
It will be,
It will be tomorrow.
the board sees it
Tomorrow?
first.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, ask away.
So I noticed that you described the sales tax revenue as sustained. So I don't know if you saw the question that I sent back today, but have we had communications with the county to lead us to believe that the sales tax revenue increase that we're getting in 2019 and 2020 will carry forward in the out years? Because to my knowledge, they had not made that commitment at the time of the sort of announcement.
I haven't had any specific commitment from them, but I wasn't aware that it was a temporary measure.
Okay.
And again, we're estimating that conservatively, as I think, you know, the county has provided numbers to us, but.
Yeah, my concern on that was that one of the things that we were suggesting, if I'm understanding Jill's budget message correctly, one of the things that we're suggesting using that increase for is to offset the salaries of additional personnel. And so that obviously would be an ongoing cost, so,
Sure.
as opposed to, you know, doing one shot type things, where, you know.
Right, well, but the tax, so we received an increase in the sales tax this year in 2019?
We didn't yet, we
we
will
expect
with
to.
the third and fourth quarter payments, so I think it took effect August 1st. So we should see the payment for August and September, we'll get that like the first week in November, so I
Right.
really, it's too early for me in the tentative budget to see if they were accurate in their estimate for 2019. I probably won't know that by the time the preliminary budget comes out either, so, I mean, if that payment is drastically different from what they estimated, it can be changed in the adopted budget if we so need to, but.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about that because I think you have been really conservative in your estimates here, you know, saying 750,000 as opposed to the 900 plus that the county had told us we might expect to receive in 2020. I'm more concerned about the idea that we're using it for personnel if that's gonna be an ongoing cost, so is that a conversation worth having or?
Yes.
With the budget
Well, yeah,
office?
because it's
Yes.
Sure, has the county indicated to you that this is only a 2-year?
No,
Jill?
have they indicated to you that it's not? That's the question.
They haven't indicated anything to me other than giving an estimate for next year, but I think they did that for
Right.
budget purposes and to
So it might be worth reaching out
explain,
to find out.
so.
Yeah, when we get to them, I do wanna talk about the personnel, I'm sure. And even if we need another police officer, like, I wanna go through that, cause I thought we were pretty heavy on police officers.
Well, we're losing one when they become the SROs, that's why.
Right, and so the money for that the public may be aware that at this point that the school district has approved the SRO agreement, it's one of the things that the town board is going to be has been aware of. And I will be asking the town board to sign off on the agreement. That agreement reimburses us 85% of the cost of the salary and benefits
And
of
benefits, yeah.
of an officer. So it puts us in a position to take and restore the patrols to
Right.
town with another officer. But Chief Carroll is gonna be here and obviously in the best position to be able to discuss that with them.
Okay.
Is there anything else before I turn it over to Sabrina and Rob?
Not from me.
Okay. Terrific. Sabrina,
All you.
Well-
Right.
Hello.
Hello.
As you all know, I run the development department. With Bob Cioli, who's the town engineer, I handle most of the management aspects of the department. We are 11 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff, consisting of the part-time fire inspector, and then the part-time building inspector, which is a limited basis. Bill Maskiel has been the person in that position. As Chapel Crossing finishes, so will his responsibilities in that role. Development departments consist of the building, planning, engineering and zoning departments. If you look at the budget that's before you tonight, most of the expenses are status as to what was put into the 2019 budget for 2020. There's 2 areas where it's a little bit different, and one is in regard to code books, where we're investing a little more money due to changes in the state building codes and the references that they're using. We are having to invest a little bit more in that budget line for that. And then the other area where you'll see a jump is in training in my office in the planning division. And if you recall, that is an every other year occurring expense due to licensure for my licenses. So those are the 2 areas where the budget really has seen a change. The other large area is just with the contractual obligations of the CSEA employees and their step increases and other increases that are associated with their contract. I don't know, Rob, if you wanna add any other particulars to that, I don't know if any of you have questions regarding any specific expenditures, but I'm here to answer any questions you have.
No, I don't have too much to add. As Sabrina said, there's not too many lines that are changing. The personnel costs are contractual increases. The staff stays the same. We've
I-
had some changes. The planning board secretary has changed, and we may anticipate another
Right.
change, but the amount of employees and the positions won't change.
I think it's also worth noting, as Rob is saying, that the we've had some new staff, they're almost all of my staff is new within the last couple of years in regards to turnover, retirements, etc. So, you know, in the realm of the CSEA steps and the budget lines, it is much less than it has been in the past, although everybody is steadily increasing over time. So you'll see those fluctuations, but if you look at the personnel expenditures, let's say from 5 years ago, we are drastically reduced due to that composition. And if you recall last year, there was a lot of discussion about the backlogs in permitting and how much time it takes. We are down to a roughly a 2 to 3 week turnaround on building permits and a 2 to 3 week turnaround on title searches right now. So we have been able to, with new staff, with putting in a little bit of overtime with my office manager, really keeping ahead of those title searches, and the new building inspector, the part-time building inspector, and the fire marshal. We're really keeping on top of our permits. So the projections right now where we are with our revenue are very on par with where we were last year. We are anticipating to reach the projected that we had projected in 2019 by the end of the year. Comparing it to last year, we are probably anywhere from I'd say $250,000 to $300,000 lower in revenue than we were at this time last year. And that is primarily due to the fact that last year we had 2 very large permits come through my office, equating to almost $500,000. That would be the Sunshine Children Home and the Chapel Crossing projects. We are anticipating, although I'm not committing wholeheartedly to the maximum dollar amount, Rob and I have discussed this, that as Chapel Crossing moves into its townhome development, we will see an increase in building permits. In addition, if the town board decides to change the zoning and does the form-based zoning in the downtown hamlet, we will see an increase in commercial building permits for the hamlet. So that is additional revenue that would occur from my office due to those things.
What's the increase in the conferences and travel?
Yeah, I was gonna ask
That is my licensing. Every 2 years I am required to renew my license. There is a conference on alternating years, it's East Coast, West Coast, so that is a national planning conference. There is a conference in 2020 in Dallas, the one after that is in Boston. According to the government calculations and whatnot, it is less expensive to fly to Dallas for the conference than it would be to go to Boston. Keeping all that in, that's what I proposed to you. I have all the details on that expenditure in my budget line, but that is that expense.
So every other year, there's a spike. If you take a look in 2018, it was $3,300, in 2019 it was $600, and then again, 2020 increased again.
And that is, the town engineer's licensure runs the same thing. It's, his is, I think, every 4 years. He has to maintain his licensure by taking courses and going to conferences.
Do you just want to mention, you briefly ran over what comprises the part-time helpline, but do you want to talk about maybe the Bill Maskell's role and where you think that's gonna go in 2020?
Sure, so hopefully, Chapel Crossing, the commercial projects will be completed in 2020. We were hopeful that this spring, summer, that would be done, but there were delays that had occurred. But I'm hopeful that in 2020, the commercial aspects of that project will close out to the point where Bill Maskell will terminate his employment with the town. We've always looked at that as a short-term, part-time engagement because of his familiarity with the project from its inception. It was more cost-effective to keep him on as the building inspector as we were training a new building inspector. Tom DePaul has not really been involved with the commercial aspects of that site. As soon as the commercial retail portions have closed out, Tom will be taking over with the housing that will occur on the site. So that is a short-term, part-time obligation. Anything else?
And we think overtime's gonna go up? Not a lot, but.
No, I do not. We have, I think overtime will stay consistent. A lot of that overtime has to do with serving the boards that we serve in my office, the planning board, zoning board, the environmental review board, architectural review board. Any CSEA staff member, according to their contract, has, that attends those meetings, has certain benefits in the sense of how much overtime they accrue. We are required, to go to those meetings. So those meetings, for example, this evening there was to be a planning board meeting. It was not, there wasn't enough on the agenda to hold a meeting, so we postponed that meeting. Where we can save on that overtime, I will, because we like to have full agendas, bring in the boards and make value of their time with full agendas. Some of those boards need to meet. The zoning board meets once a month. They must meet. They must have a secretary that attends the meeting as well as a building inspector that attends the meeting. So that I cannot reduce those overtime obligations.
But it's going up like 57%, so do you think?
Well, this is the first time, to be quite honest with you, that I actually, as a department head, ran the personnel numbers and factored in the specifics based on the number of meetings and the number of personnel attending those meetings. So in the past, it may not have been accounted, as narrowly. In addition, with the building inspector, we've been allowing him overtime so that he can spend the adequate time necessary to review the projects. He's a new building inspector. We wanted to make sure that he has the time he needs to make sure that the permits are being reviewed accordingly in relation to the state codes. As I said earlier, we are down to a 2 to 3 week review period on permits. This is a first in many years where we have really spent a lot of dedicated time clearing out the backlog. The projects that we have in now, the Sunshine Children Home, those are very involved projects which require an outside entity to help our building inspector review those projects. It's a hospital. It has a lot of state health requirements. So he is checking other folks' work, and we're affording him the ability to make sure he gets those permits reviewed in a timely manner. So that's where a lot of that overtime comes from.
So just out of curiosity, things like that, do we not charge
We
his fees back to the client?
We don't charge his fees, we charge, for example, the outside review fees.
But if he has to review the outside reviewers,
We don't charge
We
them
don't-
twice.
you don't charge them
No,
for that?
that's 2 times.
Okay.
And you had this year too, you had Terry that had time spent on the downtown project.
Yes,
Steve Coleman spent time on the downtown project.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we've been, my staff are the same staff who are reviewing boards and committees and building permit projects are also handling the capital projects as well.
He shows up at 5 o'clock in the morning to make
Okay.
sure, document that the, tainted soil is actually being, going.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, Terry's spent a lot of time.
when the trees are delivered at 7 a.m., that is outside normal working hours. When Terry has to come in and witness that they're filling something or digging a hole properly, that's happening before anybody else comes to town hall. And according to their CSEA contract, it is outside of the working hours of the town. And if they're there for an hour, they have up to 3 hours that they will get credited for. So that's where that comes into play.
Okay.
I can only hope that we would be less than what is projected, but I can't guarantee that.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
one down.
Luckily, I have a schedule.
Chief is on his way out.
Alrighty.
He's here.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Oh boy, look at
Hey,
this.
You get a suit.
Rob, you don't
First
know,
time.
Rob, you don't know by chance, make it easier if I wanna look online or on the PDF. Do you have page numbers on the PDF?
The PDF does have page numbers, if you look at the PDF, it's indexed. So if you look to the left side, it's, you can flip to the top.
Top right corner should say like page 33 of.
What am I, no, I see, well, so mine's on the left, I'm a little confused, I'm not seeing, I'm trying to follow here to here, I'm not, I'm getting confused back and forth.
Good.
Thanks.
Look at you teaching me something that I never would have pressed that.
I've seen this
Thank
before.
you.
I was happy to see you.
Chief, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, how are you?
Very good, thank you. This is scrolling through trying to find and now let me do it.
I indexed that so it would be a little bit easier to read.
Easier to find.
I knew it was that key there.
Tom number 2, is that what I heard, one down?
Yep.
You're always
You're number
number
two.
one in our book, don't be ridiculous.
You're the first runner-up.
It's first loser, right?
Always be nice to the people that come armed. It's just a rule of thumb.
To me? Um, this is how we've done it for years, and 2020, we'll just go down the line if that's okay with you. Salaries is contractual, of course that's gonna go up because, we had so many younger people who are now, coming up through their different steps.
Right, so let me just comment on that for a second. So, Sabrina briefly mentioned it, but as you may know, the contractual increases for new employees, the police have 4 steps, the CSEA has 5 steps. They're a pretty big jump, so the starting salary is around 70.
Yes.
For a police officer, it jumps to about 110 for the 4th step. So each year you go, you see you're adding about 10,000 per officer.
Even the last one's higher than that, like
Yeah, the last
15%,
one's higher than that.
so that's a
So
big jump.
that's why you see big jumps. We didn't see big jumps when we had a senior staff, and then as they retired and we're filling them with younger officers. So that's why you're gonna see big incremental jumps like that.
There also is a 38th officer in this budget line, and that's based upon the SRO agreement with the town that I think will be in front of you guys tonight. And I think the total contribution from that is about 85%. So with that, I have a plan to go back and make a steady village post during the day, like Tuesday through Friday. I have a great guy in mind for it, and I think it'd help with coverage throughout town, town itself, Chapel Crossing, a few other things too.
So the village post would kind of move through all like the business districts.
He would, yeah. So I really try to keep him there. I'll walk around, get to know the merchants a little more personal face. We had it for years and years and years, and everybody really liked it. It goes
Both
back to-
hamlets or just,
I just plan on this hamlet actually,
Yeah, Millwood is not the same type of thing.
but
and Chapel Crossing as well?
it would provide better coverage for Chapel Crossing because we have an increased amount of calls from up there, and he's close enough. We'll have the East Coast covered, and we'll have a steady village guy that could respond there. So.
Speaking of that, are you
Chapline
seeing
too,
a
even,
lot of calls from up there, like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
increased police presence
Certainly
necessary?
has, yep, from, auto accidents to medical aid cases to, service calls, it's everything.
What numbers roughly? An increase in 10 calls, 50
I would say at
calls?
least a call a tour,
That's a lot.
Wow.
yeah,
Call a tour per day and that's a lot.
yeah.
That's a lot.
More like, I would say days 3 to 11s mostly, midnights, not so much.
Right.
Educational credits, again, is contractual, doesn't really get used that much. Overtime, you see a little, cut that a little bit because 2 things, we had budgeted last year for the SRO coverage to have an extra overtime every week, and we also had covered, had budgeted for distracted driving, traffic enforcement. But based upon I'm doing like the 3rd lieutenant, I'm making a traffic officer, so that money's gonna be gone, so we had a little bit of break there. Holiday pay, again, contractual.
So let me just comment on the holiday pay again. And this is something, there's typically not a lot of changes between the department head requests and what the administrator comes up with. This is, we are generally on the same page after our meetings, and sometimes we'll change numbers and with the department head's approval. In this instance, what the chief is giving you in that 284 is basically the total obligation if that was paid out in cash. The officers have the option to take it in cash or to take the time off, and a lot of them take the time off. So if you look historically, they don't take the cash all the time.
That's just a maximum number, it's never,
Yeah, so
it's never actually.
in the department head request, he's got 284, but when I changed that to the administrator, there you go.
So we expect the actual would be less.
The actual is less, but I've changed,
Yeah.
but the budget is less, so if you look, oh no, you put 284, I'm sorry, he put it,
It was
he
higher
initially
than
put it in at 334, 786,
And we know
and I
that.
dropped it down to 284. It most likely will come in under that, but we can't know that. The actual obligation is 334,000, based on the, what did they get, 13 days?
If everyone jumped in.
Right, you
Yes.
gotta budget for the full
Right.
amount.
And a
That's
lot of
what I
times,
did, and-
we don't know with the newer officers how they're gonna lean. When you had the other staff, I guess
Yeah.
it was more predictable.
I find the newer officers, if they came from somewhere else, a lot of times, or at a higher step, they'll take the money up front just to, cut the gap a little.
Yeah.
It's never hit my number, but. it's
I just
probably
wanna point out, that's why there's a big, it's about a $50,000 gap. It is a $50,000 gap from what the chief, initially suggested and to what that's been changed to.
So the longevity is actually down because we have lost, senior employees, so that's a little lower. Unanticipated expenses, we still haven't done that property evidence barcode scanner, that's just a computer thing, so we still need to add that into next year. Office equipment, I always say that for every 1 day, we're 3 days. So at least if you think about it, right, and every 1 week is town hall's 5 and we're 7 to 21 days. So we go through equipment.
Out of your dispatcher chair here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
they ask for a new chair, dispatchers every year.
Communications-
Gets really good set in.
Communications, we actually did get rid of that 3-year step with the new radios, but we need a couple of car radios, so that's a little bit lower there. Vehicles consistent to last year. This year, I had a detective car note go down, we replaced that. And then I just had the dog control car vehicle go take that, so I took an admin car that I'm using and I make that over, so. I have a breakdown of the 10-year plan we do in the back for vehicles with the current mileages and use. We can talk about that later if you'd like. Office supplies standard, first aid equipment. We go on every medical call and AED and blankets and infection control, so standard. Printing and publishing, same.
Why'd that go up so much?
I have it. It's because we have to replace the local summonses, the orange ones, so you see there was.
Yeah, I know, it's 111%, but it went from 2,000 to 4,000.
4,000, I know.
Yeah, so we're gonna,
Why are we?
we have to buy them,
replacing
we have to buy them, why down so?
You just need more?
We need them and they're only sold in quantities that we have to buy enough for 2 years. So we'll need them for next year, but it'll go back down for the following year.
Gotcha.
Got it. That's supplies, that's, in-service training, firearms, taser, books and subscriptions, just standard to update our records every year. Conferences and travel, training for your new chief. We also send our youth officers every year for their annual certification, the SRO as well. We send the women to a law enforcement conference, and we always update on our traffic training. Dues, consistent. Training instruction is the same. Equipment and repair. And again, that's just consistent, cost of doing business. Same with contractual services. Lease and maintenance contracts, again, that's what we pay for our computer programs and Vehicle maintenance, I raised that budget 10 because we've really been running around 45 to 50 for the last few years, so I just thought it was more accurate. Gas is, cost is, but 40 seems to be right where it should be. And special projects. Uniforms, I think Rob and I were a little bit on this number, but I think we're on the same page.
So, yeah, that was my mistake. So where we, I had 12,090 and you have 16,840, correct?
Right, so if you look at my paperwork, Rob didn't have the fireman instructor at outfit 3 for retirement and promotions or the motorcycle unit. I had a new motorcycle officer and they both need helmets because the helmets only last so many years. And again, I was an instructor, if I was an instructor, we lost instructors, we need to replacement outfit them. Next, there's also a big hit for us for our grant, for the bulletproof vests. They're last for 5 years, and it just happens how it worked out. There's more of that next year than it has been this year, so that's why the number's there.
So his number is off from what I have in the tentative budget, so I will need to add that back in. If you recall, throughout this process, as we meet, and if a department head either points something out or has a discrepancy with what Joe and I have recommended, we bring that back for a final decision to see if the board wants to add that back in. So I will be bringing this point up at that point. What are we off, about $4,000?
It's 4,000. It's actually the difference between the 2250 and the 1940.
Yep, and that was just my, the way that I entered the budget in,
Yep.
just my overview.
I would interrupt until you're done.
Yeah, okay, good. Uniform allowance, that's contractual. Officers get that till they hit 15 years and then they actually goes into longevity, so that's another contractual item. Telephone, the hotline, it's how we communicate with the police departments. And education reimbursement, it's contractual, but I don't even think we use it at this point, so. Yes.
A couple questions.
Sure.
How many, I know we're not expecting to make a new lieutenant based on
Yeah.
previous conversations. How many sergeants do you expect to make this year? And if you had a guesstimate, no, let's realize it's not so easy, how many officers might we expect to retire this year?
Yeah, I'm hoping to, add an officer January 1, considering the SRO agreement is gonna be in effect and the school's paying for it. I expect one sergeant to retire next year. So I'm expecting, yeah, I will.
You don't have to name
No,
them.
I was gonna, I'm expecting one sergeant. I have a couple patrolmen that can go, and I don't think, I expect 1 to 2 retirements next year.
In the sergeant position or?
One sergeant, I have another sergeant who can go in November, I anticipate her going the following year.
And do you expect then you would replace with 2 additional sergeants, or are they needed, or we expect?
That's not my plan going forward,
Not your plan to,
to replace them.
okay. And then somebody asked, I think maybe Lisa did, do you feel that you have adequate coverage for Chapua Crossing and the Hamlet and Millwood, and obviously we're a big jurisdiction, going all the way out to the west end to the east end, how are you feeling in terms of?
I think that
Your
38th
personnel.
officer is gonna help me. And I think if we do lose some sergeants through attrition, that's certainly gonna help us going forward.
And then going forward, you looking at 2, 5, 10 years down the road, assuming that Chapel Crossing is built up with Toll Brothers and to build the houses, are we expecting another
I would certainly like to increase the size of the force.
over time?
Yep.
Now, do they have their own security force up there?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Do they?
They do. They
Do you
patrol the
much?
perimeter and they,
Call
I'm
the
sure
police
they,
when they
yeah, they
need
call us for help when they need me.
Is the video screen coming
show
this
us
way or
this.
that way? Because there's a nice smile on your face coming this way. I think it's behind you, I think you're okay.
Behind you, you're good.
Yeah, be careful. So they do have security force.
Okay.
That's only so valuable.
So then, do you need to talk about the civilian budget, cause that's,
Yeah,
Yep.
the 3120.
Senior officer assistant and community service worker, we have a part-time police clerk. The school crossing guards, we've had the 2 of them for years, they've been great. We have 2 traffic officers in the evening, traffic officer in the morning and an officer in the afternoon. animal control worker. We had the park ranger, the part-time seasonal park ranger, we still have it, and the court attendants. Overtime, 5,000 seems to be the number we do. They come in and they'll help out for community day or farmer's market, or sometimes we bring them in and keep them on Friday afternoons because when the weather's good, we add 2 officers and community service workers. Longevity.
Yeah, so you were right on that.
So longevity.
That's another correction that I missed.
The CSW had hit his 5 years in August, so we'll have to pay him his first longevity step.
Yep.
And the senior officer assistant, that's contractual. Uniforms, and, they don't have a uniform allowance, so we have to purchase them for them. And animal working, that's his yearly mailer, and SPCA, that we pay them services or a contract every month. The last one is the, I guess I call it the distracted driver line. So that's the, we have 6 sessions, they cost $900 a session, and printing and publishing is if we want to, banners or stickers. This year we actually moved the line, and I bought another speed sign that I'm going to put up. I bought one with the solar power. I'm going to put it between Roybrook and Grafflin. Like just keep it going between those 2 places during school hours, school days. Last page is the replacement plan for the vehicles. You see a couple of those cars that have $118,000 as of August, 118,000 miles in August. I won't get a new car until May, by the time the year comes and we get them delivered from the dealership. The car 5.5 has been replaced. It just came in 2 weeks ago. So, and then the detective party C has 29,000, and next year I'm looking at. I'm probably going to take that 29, replace the 5.3, which I'm making the animal control car right now. So I'm kind of just refiguring stuff to get the most use out of it.
Not many miles on it considering its age.
Right.
I mean, it's old, but it's not many
It was
miles.
Chief Baines' car at one point, and now it's like the backup. That's all it is, yeah. Now it's like the backup lieutenant car, and it goes for schools and stuff like that.
What is, go back to personnel, so what do you expect, where would you like to be? Money aside,
Do
obviously,
you wanna
it's a
do
question.
executive session because
I have
the
something.
chief has a
Oh, okay.
proposal.
Yeah,
It just, I thought that would segue into what you're about to ask him, so
Okay.
that-
so why don't we cross the tape for a moment? Thank you, alright. So we'll,
That you didn't know existed?
I'll text
I mean, forever, I never knew that under the PDF, that's really embarrassing. Is that recorded yet? Did I just say that out loud? That's not true, my name is Lisa Katz.
Just a little bit.
Never knew that existed. Alright, recreation.
Jill, I left the candy for the merchants on Barbara's desk, is that okay, or should I?
it's fine, either that, or
We can bring it here and open
no,
it.
stop it.
We'll make sure it gets to
I was gonna say,
you, trust me, trust me.
Snacks in there.
I've never binged on Twix or whatever we have
Not a
in
good
here.
idea.
It's bad
There's a
night.
ton of candy downstairs.
No, please, I've had those.
Outside the police
Well, all my
department.
Halloween candy already, I'm trying to hide it.
I busted into mine.
I never buy mine until
We're
the
the
day before.
full-size bar house.
Oh, are you? There's a couple of them. It guarantees no teething, you have that, it guarantees.
I didn't know I was reviewing the budget with somebody who's a full-size candy bar kind of person.
Maybe go to the half size, the fun size.
snack sizes for
We're
We
leave a
don't
bowl
get that
on the
many
porch,
people anymore.
We are too.
and
Yeah.
the first people take it all, and
Yeah, it's
that's
so
it.
terrible, they dump it.
Last time I put a note, do not take all the candy, leave some for other people. So some wise guy took all of it and left one right smack in the
Actually,
center.
you know what the note should say? We have ring.
Ooh, real slow.
We have ring and we're recording you. That's the note you need.
We know your
Yeah,
parents.
we used to get a lot of people, we don't get that many people anymore.
All right, Ike, thank you for coming. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll be up in 1 second.
Are we
Yeah,
taping?
we're actually ahead of schedule. Yes,
Yeah.
we're taping, so now we'll get a lot of people because they know.
Yeah, exactly, what it was. Give out your address.
Like good ones? Like
Yeah, what do you
Reese's?
have?
Yeah, Reese's and Kit Kats and Hershey bars.
Oh my god.
Hershey, I'm not a big fan of Hershey, it's kind of run of the mill, throw in a Twix, 100 grand, Baby Ruth. I'll come by.
I like the Almond Joys.
Really?
Yeah.
That's random.
Yeah, well, Almond Joy's got nuts.
That's my favorite.
It's delicious.
Let's leave it at that.
I like peppermint patties.
Milk
Those
chocolate,
Oh,
the
it's also
almonds.
terrible.
Oh, peppermint patties
No, I
are
didn't mean it that way,
so
but they're
good.
nuts, it's nuts.
Especially if you put them in the freezer.
It's like the Thin Mints in the freezer.
Exactly.
I eat sleeves at a time.
We actually.
I do, I kid you not.
We've seen
I
that
eat
too.
sleeves at a time.
Alright.
I guess to speak very slowly, so I'm just letting you know.
Yeah,
Very slowly.
Matt, our rec commission chair wanted to be here, but he's not gonna be here till 8, so.
Sorry, well, we're ready.
Really slowly.
Really slowly.
Oh,
We've never done this before, we're very efficient.
Well, do we have somebody else who go before him? Who's here? What's the next
Yeah,
one?
should
What
we,
about
should we,
Christina? Should we get Christina
Yeah.
first?
Yeah,
Why don't we do that?
sorry,
Hey,
And you can come back.
see you at 8.
It's like for the
see-
Jill.
Is she here?
Yeah,
She's here.
Christina,
If she's here.
Do you wanna?
you're here, Jill.
Or
Yeah,
Jill
right.
Simon,
Jill, you're here.
Hero and Robert Deary.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
don't
They
I
might
can-
both be here.
I can actually, cause I can tell you most of the stuff that he's gonna
Or
wanna,
else we could
he's
do
gonna be
the,
interested in is any of the capital project stuff, so
Yeah, I don't think he really cares
It's
about
up to you. If
we
you
can,
want,
we
do
can
it at 8 or
probably
we can
start
do it.
kinda going through.
we shouldn't take it, we're probably
It's
not
not
gonna
gonna
have
last,
hour with
yours
you.
is not gonna
Yeah,
last
it's
till
not
8
gonna have
o'clock
hour.
though.
No.
Yeah.
So, if you don't wanna do without him, that's fine, we can start at 8, but it's not gonna last. We didn't expect you to be here for half an hour, sorry.
So let's do one, like Jill,
Yeah, when Sabrina, we knew
Or
wasn't gonna be an hour.
Christina.
Well, Christina's not answering, so I don't think she's here.
Yeah, she,
So what
she
if we
told
do
me
you guys?
She was doing an
Do
errand,
you.
she was dropping her daughter off and stuff like
let's
that.
do Jill and Rob.
We can, but that's minimal also, but
But at least we
We'll
can, then we
buy
can
a
start
little
right
time.
after that.
It'll buy a
You
little
can
bit of
hang
time.
out if.
Unless you wanna do it without him, it's up to you, but it's not gonna last more than half an
I'd
hour.
rather not,
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think it's,
just, I'm sure he's, I'm sure
But
he's
that's
fine.
fine.
alright, well, do you wanna, we'll start with we'll do the
Okay.
town board, the supervisor, the administrator, and the comptroller.
Alright, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah.
great job.
It was a pleasure, thank you very much,
enlightening.
best budget meeting ever.
You've done a fabulous job. I just wanted
We
you to know
approve.
that.
No, thank you.
Okay, so what are we going to do? I have to go to my handy contents page?
Town board.
Yeah.
Where is it? There she is.
Oh my goodness, alright, there is a increase in the special events line, so we're on page 7 of 162. So there are two things that we've budgeted for. One is the
Additional things.
additional things that we budgeted for. One is the Epic concerts with Chappaqua Orchestra. We wanted to make sure that there was gonna be funding for that going forward.
That's great, and I fully support that. Did they send a budget and a?
They did not, but
We
they
know
told
what we
us
spent
what it
last year and it should
yeah,
be
we talked
more.
about what they spent last year and we included
Well,
an
I
amount.
think it would be more than what they spent last year, because I think my understanding was that they were requesting something over what.
We had special
The
events
amount
there.
that I put in there
In terms of-
was $10,000
Okay.
for that. Not knowing what the budget was because I
They
don't
haven't
have it.
given us anything.
So,
Have we?
that was,
But that's okay.
that's
We
what I
can just-
included, was,
yeah.
was
I-
$10,000.
But I want them to have the discipline to send us the
Right.
rest of the week,
Okay.
know, what
Yeah.
we're
Alright,
approving.
and if you also notice under the Chappaqua Chamber Orchestra,
Right.
there's been an increase from the 3,000 to the 7,000.
Who's the Chappaqua Chamber Orchestra?
It's the, it's.
You mean the Chappaqua Orchestra?
They have like
Oh.
a special little. Hello.
Hello,
Okay.
Kira, how are you?
Right, so
What- so
that
what
that
is that?
reflects the two events for the orchestra and their increase in
Price.
price. So the 3,000
Right.
was us paying them for the holiday concert every year. They've now asked for an increase in price due to increase in their costs, and it covers the summer concert as well as the holiday concert. So that's what the chamber orchestra line, that's what that covers, and the special events includes the epic
Just out of curiosity, the summer concert, that doesn't come out of the rec budget as part of the summer concert
No, it's always been
series?
Well,
in here for
they-
whatever reason.
No, that's a good question. Why isn't that?
Isn't it part
Well,
of the
they
summer
weren't
concert
scheduled
series?
this year.
They've
and
Here.
Well,
they
they
were.
were, they
Well, no, we added them on
We added them,
afterwards.
but but when the budget was anticipated, I didn't.
So
They've
can we
always
just
been
talk
added
with
in.
Ike? I feel
Yeah.
like it should be there as part of
Well,
the summer concert
it
season.
It doesn't
matter.
It doesn't matter, I mean, I just figured we're paying them, we'll put it there. It doesn't,
doesn't
it's
matter
all
where
in
the money
the
comes from.
general fund, so it
But
doesn't
I
really
mean,
matter.
I think Lisa's making a good point, which is that this, you know, this doesn't belong in the town board section of the
Well-
budget, it's
well,
not really
with-
a town board
Right.
decision, it's
That has
really a
been
recreation.
Yes, but it
there
was
since
the
way before I was
town-
comptroller,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But it was the town board's
Move it
decision
wherever.
because
It doesn't-
they were not included in the rec.
But the,
Right.
no, the point is maybe that whole line, not that it matters for the budget, money's money, I get it, but that whole line maybe should be under the
That's-
rec budget,
Oh,
like
I see what
move
you're
it
saying, as opposed to the, got it,
I
got
mean,
it.
if I do
Okay.
that,
Out of
you'll
order.
lose the history, cause I'll have to create a whole different line,
Yeah.
because I can't, 1010 is the prefix for the town board, so
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean-
create a whole nother line that would have zeros in the history of it, and
You
it would.
can't manually edit that.
Well, you can't, this line is it starts with a 1010 number, I can't, that number has to be under the town board.
Bless you, bless you.
If I can't just say that number gets moved to a different spot, it doesn't do that. It's a number associated with the town board section of the budget. I can create another one, it would be at 70, I don't know, 70-20, whatever, and call it.
The other nice thing about moving it to the recreation section, right, is that it would make it appear as though it's not at the whim of the town board, you know, the whim of the 5 elected officials, but that it has a kind of
Okay.
place of permanence.
You'll have no history for a few years, that's all, that's the only.
That's okay. Can we put a note on that line item to say like previously line, you know, 10,
It's not, but-
from the bu-
Okay, the other thing that's put in here was $16,000 for to run a children's program with the library at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. We've identified 9 programs that
Great
we're.
programs.
9.
Great.
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 Sorry. 9,
Great.
great, oh, sorry, great program, sorry, originally I thought it was 10, so and anyway, that I'm hoping to secure a grant for, but and our grantor has been tremendously generous with us, but the timing doesn't always work. And we really would like to be able to proceed. We worked with the library identifying programs from the paper bag players to circus arts to STEM performances to writing workshops. It's a fabulous array. And so
So why is the town paying for this as opposed to the library?
the library can contribute something to it, not a lot, but they can contribute something to it. I'm hoping to get a grant that will cover it.
Okay.
But I want to be able to proceed.
Why can't they contribute half? I mean, they're getting credit for it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, this is.
It's gonna be billed as a library event, I guarantee.
Well, we use their advertising, so absolutely, it's just that if
Right,
we use,
so why
if we
are they
use their
not-
advertising, we can't charge, so.
If we use their I'm sorry, say that again.
We can charge tickets for these events.
Right, okay.
Not
If
if
we-
we co-sponsor it with the library and then they won't advertise it.
I'm confused, so then why are we co-sponsoring with the library?
If,
Cause we wanna use their advertising.
we would like to use their advertising, so
What's
that's
their
why.
advertising?
So we're
They have-
co-sponsoring with them
they
there
have-
to
they have
use
a
their
huge,
advertising, but we're charging money for the tickets.
Okay.
I don't know the word charging money.
Well, if we're not charging money for the tickets, then they should be giving us more money.
And
Right, I mean,
I,
to offset the cost.
Right?
and they haven't said no, again, I'm just trying to secure a grant for the full amount, which I have oral representation that's coming, but I don't have a check yet, you're looking confused and I'm sorry. But.
No, I'm just, I'm sort of, this kind of goes back to the earlier conversation, like, well, why is this running through your office and not through the recreation department? I mean, why are we
Because
creating?
it's out of Chappaqua Performing Arts Center and one of those things, I mean, possibly, I mean, it,
Okay.
I'm happy to switch the money wherever you wanna put
I
it.
mean, this is new, so that could be
Yeah.
made a new line item somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it absolutely, you know,
But that's just more administrative, but what
Yeah.
else is
Yeah,
going on
it doesn't
is
make a
where-
difference. It
but
really has to do
The other
with
question is
just
why
a
aren't
suspicion.
library
The
Should we- we
library,
get a
the
number
library
from
has offered to contribute, I've also spoken to Dawn Greenberg from the Chappaqua Book Festival. We had a conversation about the fact that wouldn't it be great if one of the things we could do was sort of work off the advertising and the excitement and the popularity of the book fair to take and have children's programs going on through the year. And she said that she would be interested in sponsoring something as well. I just wanna be able to book these things while we take and we work out whoever is contributing for it. And so I wanted the funding to be able to be covered.
Right. I'm okay with that, I just
I don't care what
conceptually, if
line
we're
it ends
getting a
up going.
full grant for it, so we're essentially paying for it, I don't know why we would even
Because I
need
don't have
those
the
other
grant,
parties.
and we may not need the other parties.
Yeah, I don't understand what the advertising benefit is of the library, I'm not saying that tongue in cheek, I
Because
really
we
don't
don't,
understand.
because we don't have an advertising budget per se. And advertising can be very expensive and the library happens to have a tremendous network of advertising. It goes through, then the schools will advertise and things like that. Where if we're charging, we can't advertise through the schools, we can't advertise through the library. And so I feel that we're missing a huge portion of the population.
If we're charging the library.
But we're not gonna charge if we're getting a grant.
And I don't have that money yet.
Right.
So it feels like, I don't wanna say no to children's programming. No,
did-
we're
nor
drawing
did-
the line at any new funding for children's program.
Nor did I, so I was
So,
trying to
Mr.
figure out a way
Rogers,
that I
we're
could
happy
do it.
with you.
That said, is the town board at some point going to get sort of a brief, a summary, a memo, an explanation of what this is in the budget?
Yes.
How it's being,
I'm happy to
promoted
provide you all that good stuff.
yeah.
I guess
have
it depends,
budget
if we're
stuff.
getting a grant, then it's a different
Then
discussion
different
than.
animal altogether, as opposed to, you know, if we're not, but if, I was hoping to book these for the 2020 season,
Yeah,
and
you have to do it
I-
now.
yeah, we're already a little bit late to the game, it's, you know, availability of the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, but the availability of the performers. And we'd like, you know, with the idea that next year when we have the book festival and they offer the town, you know, tables to be
table.
able to promote programs and things like that, we have actual,
Instead
like,
of children's programming, we
To
could
be
put
able
on
to-
the.
And the whole scheme of things,
Yeah.
I'm sure this is money worth spending.
yeah, I just-
It is,
yeah.
but we may not need to spend
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
actually,
So
but
let's just, if you wanna move it, I think let's move it.
Yeah, I'm
but-
happy to move it
but
wherever
let's
you wanna
just-
go.
I mean, how do you, I don't know.
Alright, is there anything else,
The NCCMC
oh yes, please,
Um,
let's talk about that.
is an increase of $7,200 over the prior year. So when we met with Carrie and Lyle, they are now doing a lot more meetings than they had originally done.
really,
48 more meetings than they used to do for us. Well, now, so these meetings were never done, they haven't asked for an increase in a while. These meetings did not used to be recorded. So you've got the costs of, while they don't have a cameraman here, but Carrie does go back and edit.
Right.
And that takes her time. You got the planning board, zoning board,
Architectural review board.
architectural review board. So these are a lot of meetings that were never recorded in the past, and they are now. So,
I don't know if it's a town board issue or if it's just NCCMC. When I've watched, cause I haven't been able to sleep lately, like Bedford's, you know, news, and they have their version of NCCMC, like records the festivals they're having and all different things, like would have recorded the book fair, so, and then they display them, or things at Chapac. They don't seem to do anything.
Yeah, we haven't contacted them to do it. We could certainly do, we could certainly expand their role to do those things.
You should see Pleasantville too, it's like a TV,
Yeah,
we have a
Pleasantville, it's
We have
unbelievable.
a TV station.
well, NCCMC is essentially a board and Carrie. Carrie's the employee.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They interview
you-
merchants, they do like all
If you-
different
if
things.
you
if you wanted that, I think they'd be open to it, but they would have to have more money beyond what they have now in order to hire more people to do that.
So
Can we get an idea what that would
speaking
be?
of
That would be great.
Speaking of them needing more money than what they have right now, it is our intention that NCCMC, as we've discussed, would take over
the responsibility not only for the ongoing maintenance of the town's website, but also for Discover Chappaqua.
Right.
And I think Lyle and Carrie had given us a very reasonable sort of
Yes.
estimate about what, so is that baked into this number
That's
as
not, so
well?
that's in a different line, that's in the 1680, the IT stuff. You'll see an increase there and it represents,
This is just for town board meetings.
Right.
yeah,
Oh, I see.
so
Sorry,
in
so
the
which section is that in?
IT,
Oh, I see.
there's a tab for that.
As part of that, I feel like it would be great for them
There
to
we
be
go.
interviewing merchants and interviewing people and going to events and
Yes. I agree completely.
So if you look, there's
the contractual services.
87,500 is
Yeah.
up to 92,594.
Okay.
And that's also spread out across all the funds because it's allocated, the website maintenance is allocated to the highway and water and so, so that's where that additional is reflected.
Can you find out from her what she would charge us to kind of step up?
Yeah, I mean,
They do,
if you wanted to maybe send an email specifically what types of events you're talking about and they can give you, I don't know how many events you would be talking about,
Well, I feel like, so, to Lisa's point, I feel like we need to have a conversation, we need to sit down with NCCMC and we need to say, you've been doing this scope of work. We already know your scope of work is going to expand to include Discover Chappaqua, it's also going to expand to include publishing the newsletter, right?
Right.
Well, it's all going through the website.
It's all through the website. But they're still gonna play a role in
Right.
getting it onto the website, so that
Right.
it's,
Right.
so that it's auto-published or whatever. We gotta figure that out. Anyway,
We will figure that out.
but we have to sit down and have that conversation. And I think, and make sure that this number, $5,000 or, however much we've increased it by here, covers those things. But then I think we should ask them if we were to, if there's an additional kind of optional services that we'd like to tap into, can they give us an estimate of what those would
right,
look like?
I mean, I think they'd have to take a hard look at it again because, and I'm not saying they can't, and we'll bring that to them. And Carrie and Lyle can assess what that is, but NCCMC is Carrie, so
The staff
they
also.
they would have to bring in.
Ragamuffin Parade, the
Yeah.
Right.
No, there's tons of stuff.
Yeah.
All of that should be
Terrific.
But the thing is,
filmed
it's
and
not
make
just
it
money, they
feel
have to
more
reach.
lively.
Or we could think about a separate contract with a videographer for a couple of $1,000s to do
You
those
could do
kinds
that
of
as
special
well. I
events.
mean, if
it's
you had
it's a different thing, right? Having a video camera on your shoulder and going around and
Right.
doing it at
Well,
special
yes,
events as opposed to,
They may be able to handle that, it feels like they
Yeah.
should,
Yeah,
but
the-
maybe not. Maybe. But I
It's
don't
not just
know.
money, they need
Inquiry.
they need to
Well, they need
revamp.
people.
It's a whole different ballgame what they would be doing, it's a whole,
Yeah.
they should actually, in my opinion, work with the school and
That used to be the thing.
then you get the
That was the thing
students who are
years
doing
ago.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, like it's an incredible experience for the kids.
That would be great.
I mean, their role has changed over the years.
Because
There were
they-
years that their
To be running a TV
funding
station
was
in high
actually
school
cut,
kids.
so they had a bigger staff, and then their funding was cut by prior administrations, and so they had less money to operate, and then they had to reduce their staff. So they're,
Well, we're gonna be, with this new website, we talked about, we're gonna save probably $12,000 for the newsletter. That's-
the newsletter plus, I just remembered, plus the
8,000 for
Code
Code Red.
Code Red,
Code Red.
yeah.
Cause this website's gonna be a
right,
big
I
Code
mean,
Red works
there's
too.
Yes.
costs associated with those, but not,
Not the same.
20,000.
Not
not
the
the
same
costs that
level.
we've been paying currently, correct.
Right. So we
Right.
really thought that money was gonna be rolled into their expanded role.
Right,
And the expanded,
right, the money is still
yes, we're still ahead.
in the budget, and, right.
So we
So
we should
they
ask
take-
them for a proposal if this is something that they're interested in expanding, but I would love to see them do it only because of the integration.
Yeah.
Um,
Then you could even, if people really then start watching it, you can be advertising our events
No,
on it
you're
as well.
right, events, yeah, not advertising.
No,
Events,
not
right, right, right,
advertising,
right.
but advertise our events.
Right. Yeah, cause then we've got a spot for it, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, it's a freaking TV
So
station.
when Ike comes back, we should
People
talk to
watch it,
him
another kid's gonna be on
about,
TV, they're gonna watch.
creating a list of events that he would want, the 5K run, all those great things that he does, the fishing derby, all that stuff, along with our camp programs. You know,
I mean, some
This
of
is
it
all
you
stuff
probably
we don't
have to,
plan.
like, when you register for camp, for instance, they have to check the box that you allow your child to be photographed, like some of that would have to be
yeah,
done.
just because, yeah.
Okay. But for camp, Ragamuffin, I think is a public outdoor event, it's different.
Yeah.
Under the town board line for town board community beautification contractual landscaping and maintenance, beauty supplies, now that we're purchasing you know, chairs and the other, the tables and things are changing, at least in the Hamlet and elsewhere, is this line gonna change or is this gonna stay the same?
This was really just for flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Basically
Flowers, lights at
and
Christmas
lights
time,
at the holidays.
Where does that maintenance come out of?
snowflakes.
Where does that maintenance come out of in terms of?
Parks.
Out of parks.
They do the planters, they do the hanging baskets, they do the
Snowflakes.
holiday lights.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, we're gonna be talking about that, I need to ask you for approval for the holiday lights for this year, so actually, going forward.
Well, not just the regular lights,
It's
you
almost
do
holiday
the
light
was-
time.
wainscoting on the poles. Is that what's called wainscoting?
No,
No.
it's the garland.
The
We
garland.
buy the tree, we buy the.
It's
Wainscoting's
wainscoting.
what you, the
The
paneling
wood.
that's around your walls in your house.
Were we gonna ask that, Rob, were we gonna ask that vendor to do the alleyway stringing?
Yeah, well, that was, we were looking at doing something permanent for that.
So would it be the vendor that would do it, or do we think?
I don't know, I think
DPW would do
they
it?
were looking into it, they were looking into last we checked, they were looking into electricity source. But I think we want to do
Wouldn't we
that
have
permanently.
to do, how much
Well,
is it,
Lauren, you
wouldn't
know
we
about
have to
that,
get
actually.
bids and,
Well, it all depends whether or not,
or more
it might be something that we can do
procurement
in-house.
policy?
But we were looking to
We
do it
bid the
permanently.
holiday lights already though, so
Yeah.
we could just tag it into
Right.
that.
Right, but it would be different lights if we did it permanently, we could do
Right.
it just with temporarily also this year. But I think we still have the issue with the electricity source for those.
We just have to figure out where to stream to. That would be very cool.
It would be very cool.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Really like it. Okay.
Jump to the supervisor, there's
I'll do my own treat. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
You want it?
No, I was
you have
joking.
to,
I was just joking. I was just joking.
There's a $75 increase in dues
Dues.
because
Other than that, yeah, I love the way that you've kept all of the expenses
Yeah,
stacked.
good job, Rob.
exactly the same.
Yep.
What's this golden parachute, $100,000? I'm sorry, was that?
It'd be nice. I think it's more like an umbrella, maybe an extra coffee cup.
I think we've got a couple.
One of those for the volunteer appreciation.
Okay.
Alright.
Administrator? Joe, do you wanna do yours?
Sure.
This is very exciting.
Very exciting.
Absolutely, yes I do. Let's see, so the overtime line is Lauren's. She's worked
Making
every
her
penny
work
of
too
it.
hard?
Yeah, the nice thing is that she's been helping Christina with the minutes, which has been great, and there's been a full court
Thank
press
you.
on that. And I'm hoping shortly that we're going to be up to date.
Yeah.
It appears that we
Soon.
finally
Coming.
are
Does
getting
the
there.
town board still review our minutes and approve them? Is that still part of the process?
Yeah, we have to.
We're
Yeah, you
supposed
are
to,
We
gonna
have
end
like
up-
haven't seen them in quite a while.
stacks,
Yeah.
Quite a
that
while.
need to be.
Quite a while, yes. It's been an
I think
issue.
we ended in 18, is that the last
Possibly.
17?
It might have been 17.
Yeah, I was looking the other
Do
day.
you ever recall seeing any? No.
I recall
For
seeing
another-
them.
for
Yeah,
another
No, we
time.
I've
always
seen
do
them.
it, because we had to figure out which
Yeah.
meetings we missed, I mean,
I think on occasion we edited them.
I think there was like one or two after I started.
Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so let's see, conferences and travel, we've increased it as Lauren has been attending some of the trainings, which is terrific. And dues to include both she and I in the managers associations. And that's really, that's the long and the short of things.
Okay.
What do you maintain and repair?
That's our here.
The copier.
I said, I said a copy machine.
Under most people's budget, it falls under the maintenance and repair, and that's the RICO, our contract is a per copy.
I shouldn't have
for the
asked,
maintenance.
I'm not really that interested.
Really,
I'm just trying to give you guys something else to talk about.
there's literally, there's nothing here, nothing at all. Alright, that's it.
Well, should we do controller?
Oh yeah, we're on a
Let's
roll,
get
I mean,
control,
let's keep
come on.
going.
In the same little like
77.
agenda item. It's 15 on mine.
We've been switching this the
I'm
whole
on,
time.
I'm on the,
What's that?
I said, have you been switching this the
I have.
whole time? It's just not.
And he did such a nice job with it too. it
No,
never
that's
came.
open go, I mean, it does it itself, I just input the,
Yeah.
I just upload the numbers and it creates all that stuff, but, controller's office, the stipend, which was, initiated, in 2019. So, that's why that wasn't budgeted in 19, it is in 20. I've bumped overtime up a bit, my office is, I would say, pretty well overwhelmed at this point. My accounts payable person is, I think you guys see her probably a lot of nights. She's got a lot of stuff, and I've got 4 people working pretty long hours.
She also helps out with the court.
She does the court as well.
You know what they say about men with huge lifetimes.
The longevity pay is, I have one employee
glad I'm
that's
sitting
reaching
over
his
there.
5th year,
Guys.
so he's up to longevity now. So,
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, James. Other than that, everything stays pretty much the same. I think I bumped my maintenance and repair up slightly. I think that was KVS.
It's a lot of copiers.
No, mine,
Have you
Under-
seen this?
under my maintenance and repair is the service contract, the annual service contract for my accounting software.
Right.
And that's about $30,000 out of that amount.
That's fair. I think the budget really comes out of printing and publishing.
It does. And I'm cutting back this year actually though, so the preliminary version, I'm not gonna make a hard copy book for everyone. I'll give it to them electronically. I'll make the required copies for the clerk's office to have their hard copies. It'll be available electronically for everybody.
can you refresh my recollection, telephone? $104,000? No, cell phone's separate.
No.
These telephones are the actual, why is it, that's just, what is that for?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Oh,
Line
your
570.
central services.
Yeah, 057.
One second,
Okay.
yeah.
My Grateful's down 1.98%, but
It's townwide,
The townwide phone system.
I'll tell you what goes into it, hold on one second.
He's got it.
I'm sort of stumping it, I've never done this before.
No, I wanna give you the exact, everything that goes in it.
Exact, here
This
it
is-
comes.
So,
You're gonna be sorry.
this is the document I
This is the
get
document.
from Glenn, so I sit down with Glenn in
That's
August
it.
of every year, and we come up with this
I'll let
document,
you
which
ask
has
for it.
everybody's
After
IT
last year,
costs and
Glenn
everything.
made me sit down with them. You should all
I
put
think
your
I
own.
passed on this one this year.
Alright,
So
so
what is
what
it?
is that? So that's Verizon, that's all of our internet service, that's our cell phones for the entire town, that's the voice system for the town, the SCADA system,
Which is
Wi-Fi
what
throughout
runs
the
the,
town,
wood
throughout the
treatment.
So
town
just,
buildings.
you get the line for it and control it for everybody.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
central services line,
So
yeah.
that number's not going, is that number not expected to go up if we're gonna have updated alarms that all have phone systems that go directly to the
No,
police?
because that all goes through the internet that we're already paying for, so that won't affect anything. I mean, we'll have to pay for the alarm system, but that wouldn't come
Right.
out of it.
So what if the internet goes down?
It's hardwired.
Yeah, I mean, that's through the county, that's not a wireless, I mean, that's through the whole
Do you
building.
mean for the proposed security system or what we have now?
No, for all, we were gonna redo a lot of the security systems to have them all phone directly to the police.
Right. Like a direct dial, like what we have with Red Hawk and stuff like that for the fire alarm,
Yeah,
where there's a redundant dialer. It should
Yeah.
be negligible.
yeah, I wouldn't think that would affect
We have so many
the
lines
cost
that,
of that, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when you look, like I say, Glenn actually has somebody on his staff that looks at all of our bills and each year at budget time gets an updated estimate, and in fact, we even revised, so the number that I have in there now, 104, was revised down, because he noticed we were paying for, Verizon was charging us for an internet speed that we weren't receiving, so he called and got them to reduce that, and we got a credit, and we reduced it from the budget, so. He's very thorough.
Yes, and we're not paying Optimum for
Yeah.
internet over at the Chapel Performing Arts Center, yes.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be paying Verizon shortly.
And just one other thing that I put under my page in the budget, really because I administer it, but it's this 40-50 public health. That's the, it's budgeted at $125,000, there's a corresponding revenue at $125,000. This is the grant, the federal grant for the Newcastle United for Youth. The revenue and expenses will always match because whatever we pay for, I submit to the government for reimbursement. So we typically have not spent the entire 125, but I budget
But we could.
the limit of both,
Yeah.
because that's what the grant is
How
authorized
short are
for.
we usually?
We do a carryover, so we don't lose it.
Yeah,
No, it's okay, we don't.
No.
we don't lose anything, no, it stays in there, it's a 5-year grant, $125,000 a year, so the total of it's $625,000 over the life of it, so.
And do we
And
have
we
to use
have
it
it-
within the 5-year period, or we'd have the dollars thereafter if they weren't all
I
used?
think there is a provision to,
I assume they don't want
to
you to report
renew
it.
the grant or
Yes,
extend it.
it is, yeah, you can do it for another 5 years
Yeah.
after this. You just have to show them.
Right, so we're about
Okay.
to start our 4th year, right?
Right. And we have, Joe works here, he's the, administrator on it.
Okay.
They've done a great job.
Now we have a
2-minute break.
Alright, 2-minute break. You wanna hit pause?
No idea.
Perfect.
Sirs again, sir?
Yeah.
So it's running? Excellent, thank you.
All right,
Alrighty.
so what's this
We were
recreation?
gonna start earlier,
I heard.
and I just asked, to speak slowly.
Yeah.
You'd have a chance to be here, but
I was
you didn't wanna
concerned it
go
might
first.
take me an hour to get downtown this evening.
Did you not get
I
the
did.
code red?
That's what I'm saying. I was worried I needed to get here and tailgate at 6 o'clock.
Not necessarily.
No, it'd be better.
Okey-dokey, are we ready?
Yeah,
All right,
okay. So just start rolling through the lines, I wasn't sure how you wanted to
Line by
attack it
line,
this year.
start with that first one.
With that first one?
Yeah.
First, before we get into I wanna thank the board for all your support this year. It was, I really appreciate it, the department appreciates it, so thank you. It is much appreciated, it's been good, it's my 3rd one, so the 3 years have been great so far, so thank you. Just wanted to throw that out there before we got
hey,
started.
we actually have a montage you wanna show you of you.
Alright.
You didn't know, we thank you.
As long as you
Live your life, start
As long as you got my good side up there.
Did all of our kids bar mitzvahs or anything?
Where's that videographer movie?
Yeah, exactly, we got, you want to create one. All right, guys, you're on,
We've
sorry.
got great things planned,
Yeah,
just wait till you hear.
yeah. So, just quick, for the recreation part of it, there's not a ton of changes.
No, it's not a mouse, that's Lisa.
It was me shaking.
Just a-
Sorry.
Both of these two almost, are gonna solve
really?
mouse. Yes.
No problem,
Sorry,
we're good.
hey, go ahead.
That would've been
I think
interesting.
it was a small bird, but okay. Mouse works too, sorry.
No big changes in the recreation aspect of the department. There is a increase, we were asking for a little bit of an increase with the training and instruction. There's a few programs coming up this year, one of which is a Rutgers program that I would like to attend in February. And then we have the
Is that the parks program?
there's a parks program. There's actually, they've got a couple really good ones in January, February this year. One of which I would like to go to.
It's a big increase, but you're talking a nominal fee.
Yeah, they're not,
If I'm looking at the right line, it's $1,200?
yeah,
Well, he actually asked for $850, but.
$850. you know.
Sorry,
But that's really,
460, 0460.
yeah.
Wow.
Do you have baked in here, assuming that we, you know, once the basketball court comes and the playground and the Millwood Park is done, what type of costs or expenses there will be to maintain additional fees? Additional costs, or are there not really any that you expect?
The basketball court, I'm hoping not, it's gonna kind of be, for the immediate future, it's gonna be typical of what our maintenance costs are with the tennis court, which is we go, you know, it's a stop for parks to go and make sure we keep it clear. But once it's built, the basketball court should be good for a while. The playground, right now we get all of our mulch, in-house, so, and that's gonna be, actually the playground here is gonna
Right,
be
this is not
put
gonna
in
be a
place,
little,
so.
right,
Yeah, so no, we should be okay for a while with both those, facilities.
and the same thing with Millwood Park, once it's fixed up, it's,
The only increase we might see, and that's actually a good question, is, actually, we really shouldn't, because I was gonna say with adult softball, but it'll allow us to play more games, but we won't have to add another supervisor to, I mean, we already have a field supervisor on at night. Instead of just being here at rec field, once it gets dark, he'll have to bounce back and forth between Millwood and rec, but we won't have to hire any additional staff for it. And the youth leagues that use it, which should be fine. It gets used, like Millwood ball field gets used on a daily basis as it is. We might spend a little bit more on some seed and aerating in the spring and fall, but it won't be a huge cost, I don't think. I think we'll be okay within the numbers that we have right now, so. I actually did have going back to rec, trivial request, but I think it would be good, is if we could add a line for, staff apparel for our rec staff for special events. We don't have any, we kinda sneak it out of the camp line. Last year, we were able to get, like, long sleeve shirts for everybody to wear for our fall programming. We got jackets, but I think it would be good to have some, polos and whatnot for staff for all of our special events, so I don't know if that's something we might be able to add into the budget. Not a huge expense, I don't think.
What would be the number?
How about we start high and we'll go backwards, I'll start with $1,000 and
That's a
then
good polo
see what you
shirt.
guys,
Is that-
see what you guys fill out.
That wouldn't fall into like the uniforms and boots that
That's a,
That's a
There's-
Parks.
contractual.
Yeah,
Got
there's
it.
a contractual,
Union.
we've gotta provide that.
Yeah, so this would be the more of the recreation
the
staff.
rec staff, so for myself, Christine, Brittany, Doug and Donna.
Okay.
so 5 of them?
Yeah.
5 people? Probably 200 is a lot, right, for a shirt? A couple of shirts.
Couple of shirts, jackets.
Probably like $500, right?
One thing, what I am gonna do, that's fine, what I will do with your permission if possible, is I would like to purchase a winter coat for Christine, cause she is introducing the ski program this year for the teens. And she will be traveling with them, so if she's gonna be able to,
Oh, that's
Should have an
cool.
identifying.
yeah, some sort of heavy jacket that she can wear
Yes.
at the mountain.
So that'd be a couple $100 alone.
Alright, easy.
Yeah.
You can get a Land's End jacket for graduation.
So,
Whatever,
You
yeah, I
want to put a
mean,
logo on it.
yeah,
You ever skied
yeah.
at night?
You want to
It's
put a
mighty
logo
cold.
on it.
Yeah, we'll put it-
Just to the
Are
budget
you,
discussion.
Are you gonna advertise those? I haven't seen that advertised. Like
Yes, they will go out,
ski-
she just locked down all the information, it's with Catamount. So, and we've got everything's been approved, I mean, confirmed with the busing, the pricing, the mountain, all that sort of stuff, and the date, so we will start advertising shortly.
That's awesome.
Very exciting.
I had that
Yeah,
growing
we
up
just
in
Right,
my
need snow.
town, it was great.
And we got approval from the school to utilize their parking lot at Bell.
Great.
So the kids will stay late, parents can drop off all the ski equipment here, we'll keep it in our garage downstairs by the rec office. The bus will stop here, we'll load it up, and then go over to Bell, pick the kids and take them to Catamount. So I think we did it's either 5 or 6 Fridays,
That's great.
starting in January.
Yeah.
So,
And you'll have somebody in the bus with the kids, right? Obviously.
yeah, Christine's actually gonna follow in a town car, so we'll get that for
So it's an
board approval.
overnight, it's
Yes.
an overnight,
No, it's on Friday
just
nights.
for night skiing?
Yeah, but we'd like to have a
Somebody should be on the bus too.
we'd like to have
I
a
thought-
separate
I thought it was
vehicle
Asians on
just
the
in
bus.
case.
Somebody gets
Yeah.
hurt.
Why not? I was sort of mocking Rob,
That's
it's
a
a
good
little
idea.
local, there's no one on the bus with the
We need an
kids.
adult on the
Yeah,
bus.
we'll have
No,
staff on the
of course
bus.
they do. Yeah.
Yeah, Christine will just follow in the town car.
Separate car,
once
just
we
in
get
case she
approval.
That's a
needs
good
to
idea if
Yeah.
someone gets hurt or something.
Say if
you
doesn't
need
feel
to
well,
separate.
whatever, wants to go
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
so this way we have that option.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
thank you. Parks. So here's where, I guess some of the big asks are for this year. Departmental equipment, you'll see a line there for 72,078,
Which line are you looking at?
710,0220.
70-10?
It's department, yeah,
7110.
what'd I say?
7.
Oh, sorry. Departmental equipment.
Yep.
What that is we have a lot of important equipment that we use on a daily basis that's kind of reached at the end of its lifespan at this point. It's our machine for our fields, the aerator, I have the list here. But it was,
Rate.
yeah, well, that was the field rate,
Right.
I had the list here. Sorry.
Utility tractor, field rake, aerator, sander, and spreader.
Yeah. So the sander is for our dump truck, our mason dump. Currently, we don't have a sander, so when we go out, we have to wait for DPW to hit the park, so if I could just put one on the truck, that would be a big help for us. So it was the field rake, the new tractor, which we use to aerate, that's kind of our go-to all machine right now.
Have you been putting money into it to keep it alive, is that what the issue
Yeah,
is?
and it's,
What's the age you told me?
yeah, one is 11 years old, one's 15, 2 are 12. Like they've all, like the tractor right now, you can't even sit in the cab because it's all rotted out in the bottom. So like we have to keep the doors open because all the exhaust comes up through.
Oh.
Yeah, no, this is not good, please,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Skip kind of laughs now when we try to bring it down to him. He's like, "Really, guys?" Like, you know. So he keeps band-aiding it for us. It's much
It's called a
appreciated.
Fred Flintstone car. Yeah.
And two of the Toro machines that we have, they no longer make the parts. So Jonathan stockpiled some in the garage, but we're running out of those as well. So, and these are all machines that we use on a daily basis. So that's why we're asking for them for next year, just so we can keep up with everything that we're doing now.
What about the ones that are not included here? So are there, next year, are we going to see something similar? Are there more machines that are gonna need to be replaced kind of
No, I
maybe
think-
future?
Not replace, I think we'll be okay. We're more gonna start looking at trucks, but Rob's helping us out with that, DPW's helping us with that. A lot of our trucks are starting to rust out. So like our Rec 11, the big dump truck, we're gonna have to surplus that, that's no longer usable. That was our water truck for
Yeah,
both
so
of them.
that's just this evening.
So looking,
It actually gave out downtown,
Did it
outside pizza station, we had to get it towed back to,
When, tonight?
back to DPW last week.
Oh, yeah, so not.
You know, they do this for effect,
So-
just to like, you know,
Yeah.
prove
So,
their point.
so DPW is
before
letting us
budget
borrow
meeting.
it.
Right, very
Yeah.
clever,
Truck, right.
timings,
Right,
you
so
know.
the vehicle line right underneath the departmental equipment, the 73,000's for a mason dump.
Yep.
That I requested, and then there's.
What's a mason dump?
It's kind of your medium-sized dump truck, it's the one you see a lot of the gardeners use.
Okay.
So not like the real big ones that you'll see out, but the,
Cross
yeah.
between like a pickup and a dump truck.
like how far of a projection do you have in terms of equipment and vehicles? How far out?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
Bart
have
keeps
that.
the vehicles,
Bart keeps all the
And equipment-
parks equipment, that would be Ike, but
Can you do that as well? Can you give us a 10-year lookout of what you think you'll
Absolutely.
be looking to
Yeah,
replace?
cause we just actually, through the two budgets so far, we've started to replace some of the vehicles. But I've got three dump trucks or three pickup trucks that are all getting there.
Right, so we have two that
Coming.
we're working with, you're gonna get
From DPW.
secondhand,
Yeah, from DPW.
Yeah,
Water
that's great if you
going
could,
through
and just
DPW.
whatever you can bring out, and then that's, out of that 72,000 for the departmental equipment, how much of that is for the tractor?
40, almost 45,000.
So the remaining 27, if my math is relatively correct, is for the, what is it, what's the remaining?
I have the
The
breakdown.
sander, the
Do you have it?
filtrate, the aerator.
Yeah, so the tractor, he's got it at 44,817.
Yeah.
The field rake is 13,361. The aerator is 3,100. The sander is 5,000, and the spreader is 5,800.
And how much of that is, the tractor seems like it's a dire need now, but how much of those other items could be over the next 1, 2, 3 years?
The seeder and the aerator are both attachments for that tractor. And that, so that, those we would need to come with it. The field rake, I might be able to get another season out of. Jonathan did a great job keeping it running this year, but, you know, so I might be able to get, you know, Jonathan's pretty good, so I might be able to stretch another year out of it, but that's really it, with that machine, so, you know, and the sander we don't have, that we need, so.
I'm just concerned that with the age of these things, that somebody's gonna get hurt, and so that, you know, sort of tips the scale, at least from where we're sitting.
So it just strikes me that going forward, one of the things that we need to work on, and if it's Jerry who maintains the master list or you know, each of the department heads or whoever, but we need to kind of assemble a list of what are all of these critical pieces of equipment, what are all of the vehicles that we have
Barb
in
has that.
We have,
inventory,
yes.
and what's their life cycle, and when do we expect them to get,
Yeah.
because I feel like every year we have these conversations around budget time and we say, oh, $75,000 for a mason dump, oh my god, but it's not oh my god, I mean, it's one of those things we can just plan for and know about, and then when it comes, we're
Right.
like, right, as we discussed, it's the year that we replace the mason dump.
Yeah, we're happy to take and circulate that to
Okay.
you, that's one of the things that we internally go through when we do the budgeting, and what we've been trying to do is sort of keep the equipment requests stable through the years as best we can, so that there aren't like major holes in the budget.
And
for
that
the
way, if
year.
you remember last year, the police asked for 5 vehicles.
Right.
And we said, well, let's try and, so instead of 5 last year and 1 this year, we did 3 and 3. So, and if you looked at the chief's schedule, that 10-year schedule, I think there was 1 year that he was only requesting 1, but every other year was 3, so it's,
Well, it was, and yeah, I mean, sort of
Yeah.
to the point, but
Yeah.
that's great, we should have that for
yep,
Everything.
everything.
yeah,
We do that, we'll circulate it.
It'll help once we, you know, like DPW's been a big help, so getting the leftover, like the quote unquote used trucks from DPW is fine, like, that'll be a big help for us, you know, so, and save some money, so it's a plus. So,
yeah, so he's got 2 150s.
yep, and that's fine, that's all we'll need, actually, so we're gonna be good. Anything else? It seems our tree budget, we asked for an increase with that seems to just
Grow every year.
keep going up every year, I feel like every tree.
What is the grass contract, oh, pardon me.
The-
That's what we had
We
contract,
took
we
that
took
over,
it in
yeah.
half.
Didn't spend much on trail maintenance,
What?
not much on trail maintenance.
We actually are approaching a new solution to that one this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, so the New York, New Jersey Trail Association's been a big help, and some of that is me not putting it under the right code. So, I'll take the blame on that. You know, a lot of times,
$73 on trail maintenance.
a lot of times it ends up going under maintenance of land and buildings, so, you know,
It is that as well, isn't it?
it is that,
And yet
so,
it's not, so you
Yeah.
go.
yeah. I don't know if there was any other questions in the parks realm.
I do have one question, actually, sorry.
That's okay.
It's from,
Rob, you said that you handle the telephones, why do they have $3,000 under their telephone line? 0570.
is it cell phones?
It's not cell phones, I have to look at how that's apportioned.
Yes, I was trying to get lower.
Not doing anything,
They should make a keyboard that's fine.
or just like this.
Community
Keep it
center,
minutes.
you know, I
Thank
think
you,
that's
I'm
kind
gonna
of
say later on.
the community center.
Yes.
What line number?
Well, it's 7140,
The whole department.
Top four numbers.
so the whole building
Yeah,
seems to be
yeah,
a
a pit.
Yeah.
A sinking hole.
yeah. Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Not good, right?
So we are working with a consultant right now to, and actually I always have to reach out to them, to follow up with Watsky. That's doing an assessment of the roof right now, the current slate roof up there. So we'll get back that back hopefully soon. We did do repairs to the flat roof, which will hopefully help solve the problem. But we do have some damage inside that we need to be repaired. And we had another issue this morning where we have to get the, I think we have to get the septic lines checked, the sewers on, because this is 2 weeks in a row that the bathrooms have backed up. Last week it was upstairs, this week it was downstairs.
At the community center?
Yeah, and it flooded the part of the basement, so Walter was over there this morning, ripping up carpet tiles and,
Not for nothing, but it should not be an issue with sewer.
well, yeah, so I don't know if there's an issue with the line, not so much.
You mean the
sewer.
line from the community center out as opposed to the
Right.
sewage
Yeah.
line, so it's a different animal.
Yeah, so that's a work in progress, hopefully I'll have an update on that sooner than later. So there's a few things, and I know some of it's being addressed in the capital budget.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to assess that overall, so once you get a number for the roof, and once you get an estimate for the interior stuff, and then we're gonna need to probably create a capital budget and determine how we are gonna pay
Attack
for
it.
those repairs, yeah, because we think the roof's gonna be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
What's pretty expensive?
$100,000.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at easy probably.
I mean, at what point do you look at another solution to it?
Wow.
Well, I think that we
may
don't
have-
replace slate
into it.
anymore, but
Right.
you know, what do you do?
Right.
Well, I think that's,
Slate roof, so-
I think that's, once we get all the numbers, that's when you sit down and go, okay, like, how do we wanna proceed? A,
You kinda just dump
with the
your money into
building,
an old community center,
Right.
that doesn't, it's just a waste of dollars.
Why we
Figure
haven't
out
come up
something
with
new and modern
anything
and updated
firm yet,
elsewhere,
'cause
yeah.
That's gonna be more than $100,000.
True, you're right, but if you're doing $100,000, you're right, but if you're $100,000, $20,000, $10,000, $40,000, I mean, if you bond it, it's potentially a lot better to
Yeah.
use some money.
But, yeah, we wanna wait and get the big picture, so.
Is that building landmarked or anything?
No. Thanks.
No, and a local
That's like
landmark
relatively
doesn't really
modern.
take too much.
Yeah, right, yeah. Still.
When do you expect to have those numbers?
hopefully soon, I'll follow up with Watsky tomorrow, I haven't talked to him probably about a week or so, so I'll follow up with them, see where we're at. The art center, still going strong, we've had some good programming there, we just hired a new instructor. So she's gonna bring some additional programming as well to fill the voids that we currently have, kind of the dead space, just to kind of pump as much use as we can out of the building.
Great.
People seem to enjoy it, and then there's a part in the capital projects, I guess we'll talk about that at the end, we'll go through that list. Okay.
And the move from full-time personnel to part-time for the art center, right? Didn't we
Well, it wasn't full-time.
move everybody over to contract?
Yeah, they were.
Right,
yeah.
yeah, they were
To
pulled off of
independent
payroll,
Yeah,
put under
yeah.
contract.
Yep, so, it's going well. Wallace, I don't know if, see that there, I don't have any.
So is this where we would put the programming, Rob?
What's that?
Is this where we would get
Yeah.
the money for the programming? So, there
Oh,
was
the
a-
programming?
Yeah,
There isn't, I suppose there could be, yeah. Yeah, this is,
Well,
that's
where do
all
you put other
contractual
children?
there. But we, yeah, we
You
could,
put the other children's programming under the community center budget, or do you?
No, we have a youth athletics and a youth recreation line.
Yeah, so that's where it would go, youth recreation.
Five-year capital outlook, 10-year capital
Yeah.
outlook.
And what programming is this?
Mike has it?
Is there set programming or is there like stuff that you would like us to start working on that?
I worked with the library and we put together a proposal for a grant for $16,000 to run 9 great programs. That the library helped us out with. So we're hoping that we get funding from other sources, but we have to be able to secure the acts. We want to do what it would be for 2020. So we needed to move ahead, even though we don't have the commitment for the grant yet. So I
So
asked
is
the board
this-
for $16,000 so we can run this children's program.
Okay, so is this programming that one of my staff would be in charge of, or are we just using the youth rec line as a placeholder for it?
I mean, I think most of it is people we're bringing in, so they'll be running the shows and we'll have John there, whoever, to deal with the videos or whatever needs to be done.
Right, and we may be
But as
doing
far
that-
as billing goes, like, so if it's John that's the point person, is he gonna be the one that's gonna submit the invoices to Diana and set up all the programming and with the
Yeah, we
budget
may not
goes?
do that.
No,
So, yeah, maybe that's us. Maybe.
I think that's us.
I'll
Just cause I'll have to assign a staff member to it to make sure that they
Who's
know all
doing
the
children's
logistics.
stuff now?
Mostly Brittany, it's a combination of Brittany and Donna has a couple of things.
Okay, so
left
maybe
over.
I'll work with Brittany on it, we did pretty well with the other stuff that we did.
That's fine,
You know, the lunch and learn stuff.
okay.
Great, thanks.
I just mentioned it to Lisa, I thought we had seen her a while back, but I don't remember seeing it recently. Do we have also a 10-year outlook for Chapac in terms of what needs to be done? But I remember seeing
For
something.
capital improvements, you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, that's right, sorry, for capital improvements, I'm sorry, thank you. I thought we had something a while ago, just maybe just
We
more of
have
a general
a
list.
list, it was a general list, it wasn't a 10-year outlook because honestly, depending on if money gets raised and then gets donated, we may do that sooner rather
Right,
than
but I think
later
we
and
should still have something, because just for that reason,
a lot
we
of
can
that's
start
not
setting
gonna come
money.
from the town. It's gonna come from fundraising,
Very
capital
well may be,
fundraising
but
done
we-
by the Friends group.
We very well may be, we put money into it as well.
Mhm.
So I think we need to have an idea of
I
what we're
think
looking at
DPW
long
may
term.
have that.
We have that somewhere.
Yeah, we
We have
definitely
that,
have
we
it.
have it.
Things that need, like roof
HVAC.
expectancy,
Yeah.
HVAC, yes.
We-
If you could just
Windows.
circulate
Replacement
it, circulate that so we can.
Yeah, that we had, yeah.
Well, HVAC did, right?
No, not the main one. We did one for the
Fix
side
that,
rooms.
right.
Whatever it may be, just so we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
circulate that again, so we can have an idea of what we're looking at long term.
I don't have that.
Yeah, we'll have to
We
get that
have it.
from,
I can send it right now.
Yeah, I remember seeing something a while ago, just maybe update it.
No, what are you sending? Not
I can find it.
that thing for the grant.
Right, but that's what we had for the grant, which was
No,
close,
different.
okay. Great. Okay.
Special programs, I think, staff is constantly trying to work on new events. We have a few that we're doing this fall, the movie night at the Chat Pack on the 26th. Rob, thanks for the heads up on the school event on the 25th.
Somebody, it wasn't me,
What's on the
forwarded.
25th? Oh, it's the
Somebody else gave that
26th,
to-
right?
We
No, our
moved-
event is on the Saturday night.
Yeah, we moved ours to the 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause we originally were on the 25th, but then we found out the school was still in there.
It's Sarah, I think, who brought it.
So we have that coming up. We're doing a parents' night out in conjunction with the Wine Around Town, so parents can drop their kids off at the community center for a few hours and we'll have staff there to
What day is that one? right now?
entertainment.
First week of
December 15th?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, it's the third,
I
Friday
don't know
is,
whether this year.
on the Wine Around Town, I think it's the 13th.
It's the
13th is right,
Yeah.
yeah.
December 13th?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And then our skiing program, which I think we're gonna try to that'll be more in our team programming, but there's another special program that we've introduced this year. The summer concerts, I think, have gone really well, over the last couple of years. In regards to the summer concerts, I kind of overheard before a little discussion on the Chapel Orchestra.
Yes, we'll be transferring the line to you.
Thank you. So just for future reference, they always need to be part of the rotation for summer concerts, is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Is that the memo? I think that's the memo.
Is that the memo?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to
And
make sure.
they do the holiday sing as well.
Okay.
But they come with their own budget line, should not impact your budget.
So, for the summer concert series, will I take it out of that line or out of, okay, and then the separate holidays thing, that's something that's done?
Right, so there's $7,000 in that line, $3,500 for each of the
It's really
concerts.
right.
Where do you,
One
where do you
for the-
charge the,
For the summer concert
concerts
series
now?
and the
Special
holiday.
events,
Okay,
Right.
so then we'll create a new line in there
okay,
for that.
Just for the orchestra.
okay.
I feel like, we can cross this bridge when we get there, but there needs to be a better backup plan with these summer concerts when we have to move them indoors. Because,
What do you mean?
Any suggestions?
no.
Better than the theater?
No, the theater's great, it's just that when they get moved indoors, like 5 people show up.
Cause people don't wanna go outside.
And I wouldn't,
That's, I don't know
Well,
if
they do
that's
wanna go
gonna
outside, but they
change.
don't wanna be
Well, they,
inside.
right, but they don't wanna go
I'm just saying
outside
we
if
need
it's
a better- we need
raining
a better
or.
plan,
Well,
whether
it could be
it's-
something as simple as having something where the kids are entertained in like the conference rooms or something. Part of the great thing about the summer concerts is you can let your kids run
Right,
off
and no one wants to sit
and
in one
you
spot.
can hang out.
and that's why you lose the numbers when you go to the theaters, because no one's gonna bring their, like, I certainly wouldn't bring my 2 young boys to try to have them sit in a chair for 2 hours.
Watch music
Right,
they
but if
don't
you
wanna
had
hear.
activities,
Yeah,
Right.
right,
if you
right.
had activities in the
But
conference
we
room
let them
now,
like dance
maybe
in
they
the
would.
front and everything,
Yeah.
we've had the children's
I
choir,
brought
all
mine.
the
Yeah,
kids
but-
are
Running up and
dancing
down
in
the aisle.
there, yeah.
Right, but
A lot of you
Great.
guys.
the majority of
people
people
there,
aren't really
it's easy.
taking that, you know.
Literally.
So, and we've partnered with, World Cup Gymnastics, we've had, Breezemont there doing arts and crafts, I've had my arts center staff there trying to keep, you know, and it's just,
It's rough, it's just that we're paying a lot of people.
yeah, it's unfortunate, I don't know
Yeah.
what the other option is.
I mean, you could tent it, but the problem is that you usually have thunderstorms in the summer, so you can't even be outside.
No, the field's gonna get wet anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. But if, I'm certainly open to suggestions, but, you know, right now that's
Do people ever do rain dates as opposed to?
Wait,
not typically, just cause it's hard to book the band. Band doesn't wanna book themselves for
2 different
two
days.
different days, you know, cause that's money that they could be missing out on doing another venue, so,
They get paid either way.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
So retractable roof, is that what I heard?
That's it.
yes, yeah.
I'll work on that.
Yeah,
Our outdoor concerts,
But
our outdoor
go ahead,
concerts
ask.
with a remote
You
control.
want a retractable roof?
exactly. This is why
Maybe
he's here
next
for
year.
capital
maybe under
projects.
Rob's tennis
Right.
ball.
There we go.
The tennis ball.
Just wanna,
But but back to the point about Newcastle Community Media Center, like if the concerts were taped and then put on the
Right,
public access channel,
right.
at least more people could enjoy it in that.
So we have a list of
venue.
events that Rec puts on, that, because we would like to try to expand NCCMC's role.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we were
So-
saying it should be like a TV station where
Yeah.
our events are
Cause
taped
we had, when I was in Riot, we had a
public.
great relationship with Riot TV, and they would come out to all our events, and they would
That's,
promote
so we
all
need
of
to
our
know
events,
what that
so-
looks like, how many events, how many, just so that we can work up some sort of proposal. Because they don't know what we're asking of them, and we don't know what we're asking of them, so if you could, the 10K, the Ragamuffin Parade, the concerts, camp, the book festival, any of the rec programs that you guys run.
And you could,
I don't know about camp.
but you could put together a commercial
But
for
they
camp.
have some, yeah.
You could put together like
Commercial
a
for camp.
commercial where
I
it
don't know if people
runs on
want
that
their
thing.
kids taped
I mean, it's not a,
at
No, but the same
Just
sort of
put
thing,
on
like,
TV.
you do
Not a
Navi or any
commercial,
of
but
these, like, there are
call it
these,
something else.
like promos, so that people could see what
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
like
it
a
would be nice to
promo,
be able
yeah.
to.
yeah, like, yeah,
CC.
it would help actually recruit it.
Just write 3 letters, you'll
I'm sure
know
the
what
kids
it was
have fun.
tomorrow.
NCTV.
Close
Yeah,
enough.
just
If
the
you'll
last
ask me, I'll remind you.
Yeah.
A lot of
The TV thing will give it away.
Bunch of
Yeah,
C's
yeah.
in there.
Like the book
You're,
fair,
Jill's
you
gonna
know,
get a list of
certain
special
things.
events, I won't know why, but I'm gonna send it to you.
I'm gonna get mocked by a few people here, but my special event, which I think you should pursue, is
Oh
Slide the
God,
City.
here we go.
Is what?
Oh
Slide the
God, oh
City.
my God.
Slide the city?
Yes.
Next year?
Yes, next year.
We're gonna own,
Send
we're
it
gonna own
down.
South
You want
Greeley.
Slide the
Oh my
City.
What
God.
is slide the city?
He wants to just kill all the residents, so no one,
You
he only needs one
Google
vote.
Slide the City, basically a big slide, inflatable slide is put up, and everyone gets it to one side, and you slide down, it's amazing,
King Street
Google Slide
Hill
the
or
City.
South
We'll do
Greeley.
this, where are we gonna do this?
You can do it here,
King
or
Street,
down.
I think we
I don't
should.
think it's down.
Cause I can tell you.
Slide the City. Slide the City. You laugh, you mock. See what happened in Mount Vernon. We had a lot of people in Nyack, I think it was Nyack.
Nyack does it.
Well, I'll
There's
tell
a
you
lot
what,
of
'cause
people.
They have a
Donna-
big
Donna
winding
wants
hill
to do
like
a bed
this.
race, so,
Oh, I like
You
this.
know.
Wow.
bed race,
Say what?
Like you put like a,
yeah,
Like,
Like
like
wheels.
a, on wheels.
on wheels.
down
Yeah.
King
Oh
Street.
yeah, that's a really
Well,
good
yeah,
idea.
she
And then
wanted
it
to
can
Donna.
end
What
right
do you
into the
Donna.
train tracks, that's awesome.
That someone's gonna die, I mean, it's like, Slide the
She
City.
felt it, it's fine.
Yeah, it's
Because slip and slides are so
I'm
safe.
fairly confident that whatever Donna has in mind is not taking your life into your hands. There's a lot of people that might do that, but she's
I've
not.
been covering this for years, Slide the City,
I think the bed race is really fun.
Slide the City,
slide the city.
yes.
Take notes, Ike.
Yeah, I'm putting that down.
Alright.
You'll see a
Don't
lot of
bother,
people.
don't bother.
And then I'm gonna put RJ in a question mark.
And while you're looking at that, just check the safety, right, how many people checked into the hospital.
We would
I'm
have
sure
to
RJ
talk
will
to,
say it's fine.
Yeah.
And people say
We
we're
can't
split
skate on
along
the
party
pond,
lines.
but we can slide down.
Slide down winding,
Mock all you will, for those who are watching,
that
here, Slide the
ends,
City.
the hill that actually ends right into train tracks.
No one's
That's
watching.
what.
I know.
It's a natural termination.
It's my kids, so like,
Natural selection.
how about those uniform budget, huh?
I think slide the city's a great
$4?
idea.
There's more of them than there are in
Good
here, so.
idea. I've already got a
There's only
sponsor.
one of 4 votes, you're good.
Slide the City, check it out, alright. Rob likes it too.
I know. That hill is gigantic. It's a good idea, but not that hill.
So this right here, we do
That
it.
hill's big too, are you kidding me?
Alright, go ahead, just, move
We'll
on.
do the bridge, we'll
Speed
do
you
the
pick
bridge, the bridge,
The
the slope
bridge.
down for the bridge, it's very gentle.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
more gentle slope.
You pick which
Oh,
direction.
Tom, come here.
Right, right away.
You'll see.
Okay,
Go down the
next,
middle.
sorry.
Any other questions on special programs?
Yeah, Slide the City.
Go to Gedney,
Slide
they
the
didn't have
city.
to wear helmets.
Yeah, would you mandate helmets?
Think
Pass
so.
legislation,
A lot. I did a lot.
seatbelts.
No big changes with youth athletics. Our flag football program has really taken off. We actually increased registration this year by 40 kids. We were able to cram it in with some fancy scheduling, but we actually opened up to 7th and 8th graders, was one of the big changes this year. We had 26 kids registered. And we've had on average 20 kids coming every week, so they seem to be enjoying it, yeah.
Are the little
So
kids
great.
who are at play during the homecoming halftime, are those from the
No.
program?
That is,
Normbrook?
that is the Newcastle Titans, the tackle football program, I believe.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it.
Youth fitness is just another version of youth recreation, no big changes there. Pretty status quo. Camps, we had another solid year in camps, we had a little dip in tots this year, but I think that was just an enrollment, with that class. So we'll probably see that as we're going forward, we'll kind of see that little dip as that class moves through the ranks. But all in all, I think we did well again this year with our summer camp program. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. So
Talk to us about the team programming.
the team programming.
Well, in particular, as far as the camps go, the team treks and what happened, and we're not,
And why you just said you're.
yeah.
We couldn't get it.
Direction.
We couldn't get it off the ground. We tried 2 summers in a row and just did not get a response. So we figured we'd try to allocate the money elsewhere. Maybe go back to doing trips for just the CITs. Once a week or twice throughout the 2 sessions. But that team treks thing, we tried different trips, and we just couldn't we didn't get the numbers to, you know, we
And
ended
it
up
was meant to be
canceling.
for kids who'd aged out of
Our
the
camp
on-the-go camp,
Yep,
For like high school kids or
Yeah.
middle school?
yeah, cause our on the go goes to 8th grade,
right?
so this was for 9th through 12th, and, you know.
They're away or working.
Honestly, I don't think anyone knew about it, cause I have a 10th grader and a 9th grader, and I knew about it, but not one of his friends knew about it, really.
Really? I mean, we advertise all the same channels that we do for all of our other programming, so, you
I
know,
don't know.
but we tried 2 summers in a row and it just didn't work, so we thought we would kinda change gears this year instead of keep allocating that money to the budget that we weren't able to use, so.
So
So-
you where'd you move it to?
Well,
Day
some of it
camp
just,
supplies?
some of it, yeah, uniforms. Some of it just came out, but we, you know, actually most of it just came out.
Well, you increased the teen,
Right.
the next lines a little bit.
Yeah, so we did the CIT, some trips in there, and then we did, for our team programming, we bumped that line up a little bit, so, but for the most part, I mean, the big number in the budget in the past was, a lot of it was the busing for those trips. So, we're not gonna be utilizing that busing, so that's why you see that, you know, that number coming out.
So why did the supplies for day camp go up? It's 0420.
Just with the increased enrollment that we've had, so we've had to increase the supplies that we've bought each year. And part of that is the trips that we do for on the go. So that's where that number's coming from. Our team programming, seems to be doing well so far. We'll be dropping on Fridays over at the community center, which Brittany has been staffing. We're averaging, you know, it's funny, we'll probably see 20 to 25 kids over the 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. They'll cycle through some, there's a core of like probably 7 to 10 kids that will hang out. Most of them cycle through, so they'll come over, hang out for a little bit, or they'll go to Starbucks and then come over and hang out for a little bit and then go and bounce around, so. Been going pretty good, so far so good.
Are
So-
the schools open? I'm sorry, go ahead. Are the schools open? Is
Today?
Bill open?
What do you mean?
No.
No.
After school, no.
The bus from Seven Bridges.
From Seven Bridges.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out how to make that work, because it's a $6 per kid charge. And because the teen so it's really trying to figure out the logistics of how we'll charge people, so that we're not just covering the cost for every time that a kid wants to jump on the bus. And we have to kind of have them pre-register so that the teachers know who's getting on that bus. So we're trying to work those logistics out with Chappaqua Bus. They don't want us, I shouldn't say they don't, we don't wanna reserve a separate bus, because that will become very expensive on a weekly basis. So we try to utilize the buses that are already en route to the community center, which we do for after-school programming, that already runs there, Monday through Thursday. So it's just trying to figure out how we can keep track of those kids, get them on the bus, off the bus, and still charge them. You know, I can't really do it I can't have somebody there just taking $6 as a kid to get on the bus. We're trying to figure out how to make that work.
I thought there was a bus though that took the Seven Bridges kids into town on Fridays.
That I don't know.
I'm pretty sure, cause I have a lot of friends, kids who took that.
As far as I know, people just say.
No, I know, I know
No,
that
there's
they
no
took the bus.
No bus.
They used to.
Bus just.
I mean, I don't know about this year, but I know there was
Those
one
other
last year.
places.
There definitely was.
So so the bottom line is we're trying to figure that out, how we're gonna regulate that and mandate it. But the team programming, like I said, has been going well. Brittany's been running some one-off trips, and we'll be doing hopefully some, like when the kids have days off and we're here, running some one-off programs like that, like little special events for them, so. Adult recreation, it's all pretty much staying the same. Actually, the only thing I wanted to ask Rob was, I know we took out the, I don't know where the line was, for the light attendant that we had, and we were gonna change over to field supervisor. Do we,
It was further up, it was further back here, I saw it.
did I just miss it?
Well, yeah, attendant lights, it's under youth athletics.
Right, but did we were gonna take that out, weren't we, and put in a
There
field
was no
supervisor?
budget for it, but there was money spent this year,
Right, so I thought we had a field supervisor line that we were going to use, and I think we might have just changed it over to staffing at some point, like I think I might have just changed it over to staff. Once I saw that there was money being taken out of that lights thing, I spoke to Doug, and I think we ended up changing the
Okay.
budget code to staff.
Where did you charge, what? what's that?
It might have been, I gotta ask Doug, I can't remember, I don't know if it was
Yeah,
flag
follow-
football or
follow up
if
with
we
me on
did
that,
in
'cause-
softball, but.
Yeah, I saw that there were expenses this year, but no budget for next year.
Yeah, so what we've been doing is, we have a field supervisor for softball.
Mhm.
You know, so he can go around to all the games and make sure things are okay, instead of just having some guy turn on the lights, cause
Okay.
we don't need that anymore. Any questions on adult rec? I think it's all pretty. Senior recreation,
What's going on with these trips?
with what trips?
We've got contractual services for senior recreation and we had budgeted 19,500 for this year. And the final projection for this year is 6,000, so do we cancel a bunch of senior trips or what's?
No, some of that was spent through the Burke grant.
Oh, we got a grant, so we used
Yeah.
the grant money instead, but
Yep.
the grant is now expended because we're going back up to the 19.5 next year.
I believe, I didn't know if we had the Burke grant back again for 2020, so.
We're working on it. So again, we budget because we don't have money in hand. Proceed.
So that's why there was the expenses low, cause we were able to utilize a grant this year.
We're actually running more trips than we have before, which is a really nice thing.
Yeah.
And we've been running them in conjunction with the library, which is really been a nice thing.
Great.
Is senior citizen staff, our social worker,
No, the next page is the social worker.
Yeah, so senior citizen staff, that's all a lot of that is, staff that goes on the trips,
Oh, okay, alright, so it's the part-time health
right,
staff?
and then the part-time help that we have at the community center for senior programming.
Got it, okay.
Social services, we hired a new social service worker this year, unfortunately with the passing of Carolyn Marcus. Bess has been a great addition, she's really hit the ground running, everybody seems to love her, she's been easy to work with, so. So that was good, she made that transition as smooth as it could have been.
And you proposed an increase for her or what? Cause we increased that line from 2019.
Which one is, is that the program support?
You're just looking at the top line here,
Yeah.
going from 24 to 27.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Just with the hour, cause she's working an extra day.
Oh.
It's not it's not a salary increase,
Okay.
she's putting in a couple extra hours for us, so,
She's an independent contractor?
yes,
Yes, okay, fine.
yep,
Okay, no problem.
Passes?
yeah. Yep,
But it's listed as a part-time health, that's why I was confused.
Yeah. Shouldn't we?
What's programs, what's the difference?
What is program support?
program support actually think is her, our seniors,
Oh.
our, going back, the
That's
part-time help.
better.
I was gonna say, that should not have been charged there if that was charged
The
there.
part-time help is all the people, if it's not the volunteers, the people that help us with Meals on Wheels.
Wheels, okay, that's
Ah.
fine, alright, and then program support is, okay, that makes
Sorry.
sense.
It wasn't making
Because
any
otherwise
sense
this was
to
an
me.
issue. Yeah,
was gonna say, that's not a contractual.
Yeah, let's see, that's about
I think that's it.
Service tax, not on my job.
Or capital projects.
Sure, I mean, this is your forum.
I don't need the spotlight.
And yet,
And yet,
So the only thing I'll preface this year is we talked last year and we felt like we maybe weren't representing the capital projects accurately, so I kind of reformulated it this year and I separated it into two categories: current active projects that are maybe even were last year, this year, anything that's ongoing, and that's the first page, and then the next page is projects under consideration, because Ivy, I think it was you that talked specifically about wanting more of a vision, and so this kind of talks about what we see, and if you see there's some TBDs under year, under costs, under potential funding sources, so these are things that we're refining. We've had 2 capital project meetings since the summer. We plan to hold those quarterly at minimum, and in that instance, we're getting all the department heads, everybody that's involved that has a capital project, to kind of come and we go through everything on the list and we talk, and if something gets refined, if we have a formal cost estimate or anything like that, as we're adding, these numbers become more accurate, so just to preface that, and you've got some projects under consideration that I think we've talked about and that you probably wanna continue to talk about.
yes, yeah, absolutely. That's what we'll focus on now.
Sure.
You'll see the first one is LED field lighting. This was just a cost I put together for rec field here to change all these lights over to LED lighting at some point in the future.
And again, I'll just point out projects under consideration, so nothing here is set in stone. This
Correct.
is, especially with the recreation, probably a joint decision with the commission and the town board as to the scope of these projects, but these are things that there has been interest expressed in these projects.
Right.
from varying
Yes.
degrees of, which I think is the other point worth mentioning as a gating point, there's no order to this. Like, this isn't, going back to the conversation we had about Millwood, this doesn't reflect, don't read this to say that the first thing on here is the first thing we would like to
Correct.
do on
Right,
this list.
right. Yes, good point. Art center renovations, this is one of the things that I think needs to get done sooner than later. The building itself is not a good representation of what we should be putting out there to the public. There's rot around the windowsills, the building needs to be painted, there's a lot of work that should be done on the exterior of that building.
It wouldn't look like that if it was on Greeley or King Street, it looks like that 'cause it's on Hardscrabble Road.
Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, like, we wouldn't let it get to look like that if it were downtown.
It needs, yes, it needs some love. That pricing there was based on a quote for windows and for painting. The painting cost is obviously cheaper than the window cost, but I would wanna get the windows done first, because obviously you don't wanna paint the building and then have to do work on it, so the bigger cost of that is the window replacement for the building, and based on the estimate I received, which I think is on the high end, it was over $30,000 for the windows and $16,000 to paint the building, so. But I think that's something that the town board and the rec commission should both consider kind of putting at the forefront if we can make it happen sooner than later. As we make our way down the list, so we briefly spoke before about the community center. The HVAC system is,
So hold on,
yeah.
you've got O in here, so you're saying this would be paid for out of the operating funds, so it's not
Uh,
really a capital project, you're just telling us about a future.
So it could be out of operating funds, we talked about that and breaking up the project, so, I think some of that work was stuff that our guys could do, right?
Well, they've done some of the work that they can do, so
Yeah.
some of the repairs on the deck in the front and the handicap ramp on the side that they've done. but a bulk of this work is the building itself. You know, so, but yes, the in-house guys have been helpful in doing as much as we can internally, but.
So it's possible if we break that project up, capital projects a lot of times would span multiple years. You see a big project like that. Some of these that are smaller costs, the 16,000, we might be able to absorb in the operating budget and just take care of that in a single year and be done with it. The Windows 30,000 may or may not be able to fit in the operating budget. But so I mean that's potential. Again, this would be our, as we were having these budget meetings, that's what was discussed and potentially how it could be paid for. Again, any of that can change based on what the board sees fit. I mean, you have fund balance as an option. You have adding this to this year's budget and a line item to take care of in 2020. You have a potential bond issuance as well.
We have the
So-
sales tax dollars if we don't wanna hire staff, we have those dollars too.
Well,
We can't
I
put
mean,
it
they're
over
included in the
but I feel
revenue
like-
budget
exactly what
already,
that
but.
number's gonna be.
But I feel like to Matt's point, if we're, it's one thing to say, let's go replace some windows, or let's coat and paint on something, but if we're talking about a building that's in such disrepair that we're saying we would never let it get to this point if it were in downtown Chappaqua, like, that's something different, like maybe we need to do a full assessment of what's needed at that facility.
Well, I wouldn't say the building's in disrepair, I would, like, the exterior of the building, the parks guys have done, the parks guys have done quite a bit of work on the inside of the building. DPW staff has helped us with work on the outside of the like the decking and the handicap ramp, like I mentioned. This is work that, you know, I mean, it's visual work, but the windows themselves have started to rot. I mean, some of those windows are showing rot underneath the sill, so they need to be replaced. And the building itself definitely needs a coat of paint. So
Yeah, I don't think
I wouldn't call it disrepair,
Right.
but
Okay.
it's not appealing to the eye, you
Right.
know, to say the least.
And
So-
between the work that the department has done and these two projects of painting and the windows, that brings it to that standard that we think.
Where it should-
Okay.
yeah.
Alright,
And I don't wanna paint the image that we think that this is throwing us, you know,
that's what I'm saying, I
lipstick
don't wanna
on a
throw
pig
good money
here.
out of against
No.
bad here,
No,
so.
No,
but this
it's-
is what we
it's
need to
good.
seal the deal, and to Ike's point, like, this is sort of what I was trying to paint the image of. You know, if we had a building with rotting windows in
Yeah,
downtown
we use it.
Chappaqua, we would deal with it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, but it is, no, it's a good building, it needs to be brought back to life.
Right.
Got it.
You know, this would certainly do that. The community center, we had discussed earlier, you know, so here's the roof replacement that we're waiting on the consultants to give us a number. The HVAC is a number I believe that we received from Walter, I believe.
Yeah, and that was, we've been patching that for years.
Yes.
So
Right, but
that's
we're
an
waiting
issue.
for the gas connection to be
Right.
finished.
Well, that's for
That helps.
it's heating, but the
Yeah,
the
but
cooling
but
is-
for the HVAC, it's, because right now there's 4 separate units in that building.
Right.
So, and they're all around 20 years old.
Right, but are any of that going to look up in your gas connection, or no?
It's separate. The gas, I think, is just for heating.
It's for the heating,
I
yeah,
don't think that's for the,
for the cooling. yeah.
cooling.
HVAC is heat.
Right, but the
It's
gas is
both,
gonna be
right.
the heating aspect, but the air conditioning is not part of the,
Yeah, you need to replace the
gas.
compressors and
So,
Okay.
so that's that. The other big item on here for us is the master plan that, the last time it was done was '07. So it's certainly due, and just for me being new to the department, it would be nice to be part of the process and kind of get a vision going for the next 10 to 15 years for the department.
So why isn't this in your budget this year?
We want it to be.
Good. Why don't we put it in the budget this year?
Well, yeah, I mean,
So just to back, like foundationally, we expect to chase after grants to help fund this,
Yep.
but all the grants that are available are matching fund grants.
Okay.
So we would say, we think we need $100,000 to do it, but we need the town to be backstopping what we don't receive in grant funds to
So
be
you
able to do
think
it.
that the town needs to put in 100,000 and
Or
you're gonna get
50,000.
100,000 in matching grant? or you
Ideally,
think
it's
we're gonna put in
$50,000 from the
50,000?
town, but let's say it's,
So,
but maybe the grant max is.
The town board maintains $50,000 for studies.
Well,
There's
the
multiple
comprehensive
that have
plan
studies.
And where are you getting the
Yeah.
number from of $100,000 more importantly?
I worked with B&L, and they gave us kind of a wide range of of what the potential cost could be. $100,000 on their scale was on the low end. And then there was all this a la carte stuff that could actually bring it up close to $200,000. I don't know if we need to get that in depth, but I wanted to put $100,000 in there as kind of a good placeholder, just because. What's that? So those.
He's on board.
That's,
Pays better than being a town board member, right?
yeah.
Yes,
A lot better.
Good help me.
No,
So that was the number I received from them.
I have a day job, it takes a break.
I know Ithaca just did
It's a lot,
theirs
multiple ones.
for close to that. Saratoga did theirs for 87,000. Scarsdale's in the process of doing one. They have $100,000 set aside for their rec and parks master plan, and then they set aside $40,000 just for their pool facilities. So they're looking at around $140,000.
Yeah,
We have both.
So the number's not
So
Yeah.
we have money.
Seems reasonable.
right. It's not like so far fetched coming out of left field. This $100,000. When you call around, you look at what other municipalities are doing. They're kind of in that vicinity. There are a list of some grants that might be available to us. They are all matching grants.
Not all of them will get us 50 though. I mean,
Okay.
Right.
That's why
Some
we're
are
putting-
$10,000. Some are they're like kind of.
The point is, we'd like to be able to eat into that $100,000, but we just don't know how much. And, going back to something you said, Ivy, what our vision for, as the commission, speaking in parallel to Ike here, is that we would like to have that schedule of here's how we want to invest in the town over the next decade from a rec perspective. And to have a schedule and a program, and some of that is gonna be reinvesting in existing facilities, and some of that might be new. But that's what this is intended to be a springboard
Yeah,
to,
right.
is to
Absolutely.
develop that schedule.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, it's the basis for you getting every grant going forward
Yeah.
to be able to improve or, create new facilities, so absolutely,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a great project.
so what do we have to do to move this forward at this point?
Do you need? I don't know. What do you need from
Quotes,
us?
do we wanna go out for an official RFP for this, or?
I mean, that's what you do.
From a budget perspective, is there anything that we have to do to indicate that we intend to earmark the money that's for the master plan consulting
Not
for this?
necessarily, I mean, you have a master plan, consulting, $50,000 in that line, so the board can make the decision. That money wouldn't be spent
Also
without.
talking, cause it's not just me.
The board
We also
wouldn't be,
town
the
board
money wouldn't be
consulting.
spent from that line without the board's approval. So
it's fine.
if that's how you wish to allocate it, that's how it can be allocated.
Well, I think
We wouldn't need
we
to put
need to
additional
see
monies in?
what else,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine, but I don't know 100% that we wanna use all of that line item for
Well,
this,
so
although
there,
I
we
think.
also
there are two
have-
separate
I'll-
$50,000.
I wanna go back to
No,
the
no, I
$60,000,
know.
how much you conservatively
We just
budget?
have, I have a feeling a lot of
Alright, so-
money
Increase
that's gonna go
over.
out on
Then we should be
stuff.
seeing another, it's conservatively $750,000 in the budget.
What
Correct.
studies are you,
So,
I just think we've.
if we're looking at,
Around, and I think we're gonna be spending more on zoning, I think there's gonna be a lot.
But the zoning's coming out of the.
if Rob is saying that we have conservatively an extra $750,000 coming in from the sales tax, that's what he's budgeting conservatively. $50,000 to the rec commissioner is not much, to a $500,000 for paving, for example. There's money that can be spent, I know Jill wants it for staff, but there's other things we can do with that. Certainly, it's a reasonable thing to think that a master plan for the rec commission can come out of those dollars. If nothing else, if nothing else.
we have two lines for.
And they're
I'm not saying the money's there, I mean, the money is there.
How would you do it?
Where we move it, it's
Rob,
comes
They are
from-
untouched
We don't
for
know-
2019, if they go out to RFP, they can secure the money.
Yeah, the
Rob,
money's
we
there.
don't know how many grants.
now.
We don't know how many
You're done,
grants
go home,
they're gonna get, so let's make the assumption that they're gonna get 0 in grants, we don't think that's true, but from a budget perspective, you
Yeah.
kinda wanna choose the worst case scenario. So if they get 0, are you comfortable spending $100,000
Well, you have those two
roughly?
lines that are $50,000 each, if that's how you wanna allocate it, you can. You can also make a decision that if we've conservatively estimated $750,000 increase, that's conservative. If you find after 1 quarter, 2 quarters that we have more than that, you can allocate that how you see fit. We did that in the past, we do that every year with road paving.
Yeah.
So we take our budget and we get CHIPS money, and then halfway through the year, we typically get extreme winter recovery funds and Pave New York funds, and we take those additional funds and
But
pay
in
more
your
than we
Well, but,
budgeted.
I mean, but to Lisa's point as well, we would know, by the time that we would get the responses from the RFP that would go out for the master plan consulting, you would know how much that, the bids came back at, right? And then you would also know potentially whether you'd want any of these grants or not.
The
So you'd
grants are
have a
generally gonna
budget.
happen next year,
Yeah.
just to be clear, we're kind of past that window, the next ones are gonna be in the spring, but I think that comes back to Lisa's point that I don't know exactly how this will work in the land of budgeting, but we'll go after those grants to help support this. If we've kind of got the dollars committed to it, we at least know that we can fall back on that, right? So, I mean,
But an even better solution is just to use the 2019 money. if it
Yeah,
hasn't
just
been
use
spent
it and
yet.
go. I mean,
Well, that's fine. We're not gonna-
with all respect, I mean, Matt actually started by trying to secure grants. Unfortunately, they didn't get them, but they tried this year.
right,
So, I mean, that was his first line of defense, which is what it should have been. But having failed on that, and I have to tell you that we're not always the most attractive candidate for
Right.
grants.
Well, especially if we're not
Yeah.
putting it in any of our own money either, I mean, if he's trying to go after grants.
well, we were applying them.
It's hard to
Most
get
grants
a-
are matching
CSSO
some.
It's hard to,
Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement.
Yeah, no, we're all in agreement.
Okay.
I personally
'Cause
think
that's
that they
like we're
should
We got the answer
try
we're
to
looking
use
for,
the
so we're gonna stop talking about it.
2019.
In
Yes.
terms of
So there's
doing the
4,300
RFP,
spent in 2019.
who's gonna
master
design
plan.
this
There's 43.
So we-
and what they need to, you know,
Okay, so
include in it?
if
So
they would have
a
a
couple of
first
things,
installment.
I got the,
I mean,
I reached out
your
to,
contract
that's why I
this year.
brought them
I
examples.
can't encumber that
I
until
received
we
the
have that.
RFPs from Ithaca and Saratoga. Getting the one from Scarsdale, and B&L actually sent me a mock RFP as well. So we'll kind
You
of
should run it.
look at that, I'll work with,
Just be careful with that, cause if
Drew from
they're mocking something up for you, then they can't do it.
well, I think what they gave me was probably an example of what they had received. So,
From other places.
right,
No, yeah,
so,
this is what they responded to, this is, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't like they drew it up for me. Yeah, yeah.
You
So
can
great.
work- You can work with Jacqueline on that.
Yeah, Drew,
Drew, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to Jacqueline enough.
So I think if we're good on that, then I'd go back to what I said before, that, rehabbing the art center is really priority number one for us otherwise, because that feels like a need, not a want kind of category, and something that we really have right in front of our face, so for your consideration. Do we want to just go to Millwood Park as well?
Yeah, so the last line in there is Millwood Park. So I know we working on the SAM grant, or we received the SAM grant. Thank you to the town, we're working on getting
We're
the SAM.
working on getting
the
same
same
grant.
grant.
We put in the application for the
Right,
same grant.
and thank you to the town board, because I believe we approved some funds to help.
Right, and we have to give them a commitment that, the town board would provide the additional funding so the project would be finished, so.
Yeah, so what is that commitment, just for clarity for my sake?
$250,000.
We've committed $250 as the town.
In addition to the $250.
$250 from the SAM. So there's $450 here, but it's really $5, right?
Well,
$50,000 was
this doesn't commit anything, this just is an estimated
Well, no,
cost
but I mean, we
based on
gave
what
them a commitment that we would, as part of this application.
No, that's not correct, we've given them a commitment that we would pay, how much, it's 25%, 30%?
No, we have to give them a commit.
We
The
could,
grant can't represent more than 70% of the
Right.
cost.
Right,
So
we committed to
350, yeah, but I put in the request for $500,000 and it was a 250 and so we committed to 250.
So is
but in order to meet the terms of the, the question, I guess, is in order to meet the qualification for the
I
grant.
think it was another 75,000.
Right.
yeah, okay, so we committed more than we had to.
Yes.
But we've committed 5, is the 10% difference contingency, is that why we've got 450 here
No,
instead of?
it's an
I think this was just an
It's just an
estimate.
estimate, okay, so the 450 is an estimate of, got it.
It's not
And
based on
$50,000
a
was
specific
actually
number.
in sweat equity from the town
Yeah.
for site work.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Oh, I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. I think we're good. My only,
Very productive.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thanks. I was gonna just ask a question about the Hamlet going
About
forward. Hamlet,
Okay,
what are
Not
our
the plan.
responsibilities for?
speak to that man. Tell him how much you need additional staff to be able to keep the hamlet in the pristine condition that you would like it to be.
Well, my understanding is that we will be responsible for it, correct?
Yes.
Is that what we're looking at? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, a minimum, I'm gonna have to designate one body to that.
Haven't we discussed it a while ago, we were gonna do this?
Right.
This was a long time
That's in
ago.
the budget, there's,
good, right?
there's an
This is
additional
a-
Hamlet caretaker position in the budget.
Yeah.
This is
So
something
we'll have
that's
to
one of those-
dedicate one of
okay.
those vehicles to that as well,
Okay.
so, that's fine.
Yeah, this is something we discussed a long time ago.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's been included.
Not a year ago, not long ago.
Right, and then I'll get an estimate to you from, for the irrigation, for winterizing all the irrigation downtown, cause I believe that's gonna fall under us as well, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Someone actually asked today, how are you planning watering all the trees and same way you
Yeah,
water
we
the-
have the same, yeah.
Same way you water the, go with that.
Right, but I know we talked about a Hamlet caretaker and we put it in the budget, but what happened was is that when we took over the grass cutting contract, that person got sort of swept in and the caretaking position is far larger than what we currently have.
Yeah.
And so what we've included in the 2020 budget is another laborer. Just so that we're clear.
Right.
Okay, alright, that's what I should have been clear about.
You spent all this money to do it.
No, no,
I think
believe me, I'm
people
completely
expected
with you.
since
I
day one they were
just,
gonna
I just
do
wanna
it.
make sure that
Never an
we
issue.
do a good job and, you know,
Yeah.
keep it where it is and, you know, so we're
I have
kinda,
every confidence.
well, we're kinda going into a little blind, so, you know, we'll certainly make it work. Have all the confidence in Jonathan. He's
Yes,
the guy that
we
leads
do.
it.
Not you.
No,
He's
no,
the
no.
guy
Let
that,
him
he
know.
makes me look good.
To the extent that,
Now,
What's
now.
that?
nothing.
To the extent that he can, is that what you're saying?
I stopped, I didn't say anything, I didn't say anything. She'll cut me short.
Thank you
I gotta
guys.
take my notes.
Yeah, it's hard
Thank
to
you.
keep it, yeah.
Alright,
Thank
good
you.
night, thank you.
Thank you.
Christina.
Oh, that's right, we skipped around, I thought we were done.
Sorry to get you excited.
Yeah,
So mine,
thank you.
the budget isn't hardly as interesting as I.
I gotta.
So you say,
That's what you think.
let's dive right in.
What is your maintenance on your copier?
We have burning questions. Are we starting with town clerk or are we starting with procedure?
It's whichever, whatever your
know.
pleasure, I guess receive the taxes maybe,
Receiver taxes, that's what you're doing first?
is it okay?
Perfect, I'm clicking on it right now. Did you meet with that thing?
No, do not.
Seriously?
Alright, guys, stop focusing on the last number.
Stop focusing on me. Pay no attention to the man behind the giant screen.
It's my eyes, it happens to be a reflection of my eyes.
I know, I feel bad.
Exactly.
I can relate.
You can zoom.
I need
So,
Alright, where should we
Okay.
start?
Start at the beginning.
sure, so, okay, so the first, you know, we have, I think the salaries and something that's kind of there, I don't think we're discussing that here, or the stipends, or do you wanna just start with part-time help, which is
Sure.
kind of no longer, so that was, it's actually, we just kind of moved around a body. This person was split between the assessor's office and tax, the way, the nature of the business now and what's going on with the assessor's office, they're doing more work for us. So it's really, we're not really adding a person, that it's just all being charged now to,
It's just being moved from one line item
Right.
to another.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
there's no part-time component in the assessor's
Office
budget,
anymore.
now it's all part-time, no
Got it.
receivers.
So if
Okay.
we look at the assessor's budget, we'll see that coming out over there?
Yes.
Yeah, there is nothing in the assessor's
Okay.
budget for part-time.
Yep, okay.
you know, what was being done was just really minimal, so we still do that, cover the office, things like that, because it's such a small office, if they don't have coverage. So the next item, it's pretty standard for us, there's nothing really unusual this year, shall we say. The one line that went down, 37% is just, again, things are being, cleaning up how things are charged, but it's nothing extra. The one other item that goes down 21% was the line item that we charged our computer services when we had that, when they changed the tax law and they had to do additional programming, so that's what that represents why it went down. And that's really it.
Okay.
Really,
I can't contain myself in this.
I know. Very exciting.
Now we're going to clerk.
Never go to
salaries
clerk,
and
that's
stipends.
okay.
Well, in court,
The stipend went up, it was contractual, that's where we were, we took it.
what's that?
They have to figure out how they wanna do that, so yeah, that's probably gonna be, okay, let's try to do the non-personnel stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
So, again, we start with the personnel, and our part-time helpline is
Well, we're gonna talk about that in executive session, we'll go over all the personnel, so if you just wanna skip down to contractual.
Sure, okay,
And then
I was
we'll-
just gonna say it's 4 people, just, so it looks like a lot, but it's not, but it's kind of. And then, of course, the standard office supplies, printing and publishing is, legal notices, business cards, things like that. Books and subscriptions, the journal news, and Spectra, which are our minute books, dues, Washington County Putnam.
What's the
Clerks.
records management?
Yeah, why don't you jump down?
So records management is been increased quite a bit because we are required to archive our tax rolls and assessment rolls. And we do that every so often, it's not every year, we kind of, because it's the nature of the business, you send it out, it gets microfiched, they make an additional copy and then we have to store it, we're required to do that. So this,
In a couple of years.
we hadn't done it in a couple of years, so we're gonna
We
get a.
use microfilm and microfiche, those
Got
are the
it.
only two approved methods.
Really?
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
that's it.
actually
Who
so
uses,
funny.
who,
Because what happens is
I
it's
guess
a
they use them in the
state
court
rec.
still, but.
Yes.
Yeah,
And and
Yeah.
you won't,
yeah, so, Yeah,
requires
so-
microfilm and microfiche.
Someone's a good
Be-
lobbyist.
Yeah, well, think
Exactly.
about,
Somebody is a good lobbyist.
but think about technology for a second, when you put everything on a floppy disk 20 years ago,
Can't access it.
you can't access it anymore.
yeah.
All
So-
those things you can't access.
still access it on state computers.
You might be able to actually, but microfilm and microfiche, they
Yeah.
all,
And-
we actually go to the, we
Library.
had our own machine, we used to go to the library then,
Mm-hmm,
but they
so
still
that's
have them.
Like
where
kids know what it
the
is.
big jump is, so it's again,
Those miserable things
It's
with
just-
the
it's a-
reels.
Oh, God. And you see there were no charges the 2 prior years, so.
Yeah,
they
so
were
we've,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy, but you're,
yep, so we send them out and we get them back and then we are in
about
charge
it,
of
feel bad.
storing them ourselves, which I guess years ago they used to pay a company, but now we store them ourselves, so.
Okay.
That's it.
okay, so you wanna go into executive session just for some personnel?
Real
Real quick?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Throwing in better places.
No position.
Well, you talking about.
Okay, wait a second, let me just get the resolution.
Okay.
I have to take notes.
We're back.
But you don't care anymore.
Yeah, wait, okay, alright.
Okay. Yeah,
Let's go.
okay, alright.
Okay, we got the resolutions,
All
well, we're
right,
not gonna do,
so,
what
go.
is it?
Alright, I move to approve,
Jeremy likes to do it.
well, I just do it quickly.
Doesn't he? Really likes to hear himself talk.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, thank you.
Come on, just go
go.
ahead.
No, no.
You know how many, I've
No.
already crossed
Alright,
that
I move
basis
to
and now
approve the
back to.
payment of claims in the amount of $1,874,632.47.
Nothing good comes out of
Listed
it,
on the
the
summary,
check.
pre-check writing report and detail voucher detail report, each prepared on October 15,
Abstain.
2019.
Yeah.
Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, October 16, 2019. Can I get a second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye, if you're gonna act like a
Aye.
child, you can leave.
Aye.
I move to authorize entering into an agreement with the Chappaqua Central School District for the School Resource Officer Program for the period of September 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2022, in accordance with the terms and conditions of the agreement dated September 25th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to hire Christmas Lighting Company, 228 East Route 59, Nanuet, New York, to provide holiday lights for the downtown area. 2 large maple trees and hedge of taxus shrubs in the triangle, $6,600, 5 magnolia trees on the corner of King Street and Bedford Road, $3,500, and downtown area lampposts, 43 lampposts for $6,450, for a total cost of $16,550, but we're gonna pay early and get a discount.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move to approve funds for 20 banners for Discovered Chappaqua in the amount of $60 per banner, for a total of $1,200.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You wanna go?
Jeremy?
I move to authorize entry to a retainer agreement with Buckhalter, 18400 Von Carmen Avenue, Suite 800 Irvine, California, 92602 for the amount of up to $5,000 in accordance with the agreement, well, subject to the ultimate agreement,
Subject to
that.
advice and
Subject to
counsel.
approval of retainer that includes clarification as to scope of services.
Second.
All in favor?
And
Aye.
structure
Aye.
fees. Aye.
And structure.
and structured fees.
And structure of fees. And who, I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
Well, I did.
Read it.
I move to adopt the following resolution, whereas on September 10th of this glorious year, the town issued a bid request seeking bids for tree planting and tree care planting area maintenance in the Glacier Preserve. Bids were opened on October 9th, whereas the town only received one bid for $60,000. Whereas receipt of just one proposed bid does not provide for a comparison of competitive bids to ensure a fair price, and the valid bid is exceedingly high in comparison to the estimate of the project. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby rejects all bids, being that one bid opened on October 9, 2018, received in response to the town's Glacier Preserve Fall 2019 tree planting and tree care planting area maintenance bid request, and authorizes town staff to modify and reissue the bid request. Further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes and empowers town administrator and PWS environmental coordinator to take all action necessary to implement the purpose of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt the following resolution. On September 20th, this year, town issued an invitation to bid seeking bids for snow and ice removal services on certain sidewalks down Newcastle. We received only one bid from Sky Rise Incorporated, lump sum of $16,000 per snow event. Due to the fact that we received only one bid and there was no bids to compare it to, and it seemed to be an excessive price, now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby rejects all bids opened as reflected and received in response to the town sidewalk snow removal and invitation to bid, and authorize town staff to modify as necessary and reissue the same. Be further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes and empowers the town administrator to take all actions necessary to implement the purpose of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Toward mini bid, ending in 087 for a 2020 Ford Ranger pickup for a water unit at DPW, to the lowest bidder to Buyer Ford LLC, in the amount of $28,917.45.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to let you take us home. You guys are all being bullied. This is not cyberbullying, this is our whole bullying. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead, Ivy.
No, is it okay?
go ahead, Ivy.
I move to rescind the previous award of the New York State OGS mini bid number T19080029 to Metro Ford Sales Inc. and re-award to Van Bortle Ford Inc. for a Ford F-550 in the amount of $63,211.88.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the posting and hiring of a laborer within the Recreation and Parks Department at an annual salary of $47,182.43.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we adjourn, I just sent an email around, and I know it's reviews, I just want to at some point take up, I know we just completed the streetscape, we sent this email around. No one's looking to give any merchants or landowners a hard time by any stretch, but in light of the fact that Wells Fargo, has had vacant storefronts, and speaking with the merchants, they've been vacant, as we know, for years. More storefronts that are open and being engaged and being rented, the better it is for everybody. I don't know what we can do, and as you did note, that it may be up for potential sale at some point,
It is,
if not
it
now.
is.
And there is some interest in it, so that may also deter them from renting it. But it, sitting on storefronts is a problem, we know this, and I just don't know how we address it, writing a letter.
Well, I
outside of
think
the
we
real
need to
estate
give it a
business.
little time, we've just, you can't really blame people for not rent, yes, they've been,
But
some of them have been vacant for a while,
speaking
but,
about the bank, but it's been
Oh.
Well, actually, I think
For
maybe
sale.
you sort of restructure what you're talking about, because I don't think you're talking about blaming anybody for anything.
No, no.
I think more to the
He wants
point,
to
we
incentivize
could write a letter that says,
We're part of this
as you
community.
know, that
We
here's
just don't always
here's
work.
the schedule for the end of the streetscape and construction project. We're coming to an end. We're really quite excited about it. We're talking about all kinds of different ways to revitalize the downtown. And we've got a rezoning project that's coming up, giving a little blurb about that, but then, we really encourage you, now's the time to, invest in the Chappaqua Hamlet and consider, you know, renting the space, I think that, you could write that, that's not
say
blaming,
that,
that's
that's
not
not
blaming.
blaming anything.
To help rent the
And
space.
anything
Well,
we could do
whatever it may
to
be, so
help
that's fine.
facilitate
Send-
this process for you through the permitting process or anything else, please reach out to the town of Newcastle.
Well,
Since
I
you're
would
in your
also,
piece of land.
I would also say, you know, I would also say that, you know, we understand you're interested in selling the space, and this is what we've done. Well, when I say we, Adam and I honestly used to do this, we'd say we'd be happy to meet with potential purchasers and tell them about the rezoning that we're talking
Yeah,
about
sure,
right now,
of
and
course.
we used to say it in the sense of tell you about the streetscape and infrastructure, now we can talk about the rezoning, cause the reality is, if somebody's
Yeah.
buying a one-story
Right,
building,
correct.
they're gonna wanna know that you may be buying
They
a
can go
3 or
pop it up.
4-story building.
2 stories, 3 stories,
You
whatever
know.
it may be. Okay,
Yep.
alright, so I just wanted to address that, that's it. Thank you for everyone's time, thank you for all the viewers
To
at home.
adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, good night.